And thanks for being with us today. We are webcasting live from the Elks Lodge here in Bend, Oregon. Had a few internet glitches, but we are on the air, and we are so glad to have you with us today. We're going to be here for about 7 hours, and we have some amazing pictures to look at. Guy Shaw, who was a military photographer who worked for the Army Air Corps, also shot some videos, or some pictures rather, for Time Life. And we have a sampling of his work here. He's taken hundreds of photos in his career from 1941 to 1945 that he was assigned with the Army Air Corps. And again, we have a few pictures here to shoot to look at. We have a picture here of Bob Hope. There's also a picture here of Ernie Pyle, who is the renowned journalist who covered World War II. In fact, he was killed in action. And there's a picture of him here sharing cigarettes with the troops. We also have a Navy frogman here that we're going to be trying to bring over here in just a moment and talk to us about his experiences during World War II. The reason we're here today is to remember those who fought and died during Pearl Harbor and World War II. This is a day to honor World War II veterans. If you're by the Bend Elks Lodge today, we're going to be here until 7 o'clock tonight. We have a video playing in the background with some of the video archive from World War II and from the attack on Pearl Harbor. We also have some video from the 70th anniversary event that's being held in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii today. We have some news footage from some stations that went over there and produced some reports, and we're sharing those as well. So when you come in here and look at the pictures, you can see the uniforms. We even have a German flag and a German field helmet that the soldiers wore that is here, and we have a swastika, a German flag that was acquired as a souvenir by soldiers who were over there fighting World War II. So stay with us today. We'll be kind of getting up and down and bringing people in to interview, and I do appreciate you being with us today. There's also a video that we're going to be sharing with you about the Toys for Tots program that will be promoting what the Marines and the others are doing to help get toys for donations for the needy kids here in Central Oregon and across the nation in the Marine Toys for Tots program. So we're glad you are with us today. Again, we are webcasting live from the Elks Lodge here in Bend. Many thanks to them for allowing us to use their facility and their internet as well to stream this to the internet. So hang on, and we're going to dig up some people to talk to and talk to them about World War II. I'm Dave Adams, and you're listening to Operation Eagles Wings, honoring all who served and leaving no one behind. This is a 501c3 effort. We are a nonprofit, and there are ways for you to help us to make this allow us to continue to do what we do. You can donate on a one-time gift or on an ongoing monthly basis if you like, anywhere from $5 to $10 a month to $20 a month to $100, $500 a month, whatever you can afford. We do have travel expenses, and we do have fuel costs as well. So stay with us, and we're going to hear some of the stories from some of the World War II veterans today on Operation Eagles Wings, honoring all who served and leaving no one behind. And if you served in the military or are serving, thank you for serving your country. If you're a World War II veteran, you are America's greatest generation, and you stepped forward and prevented the world from being taken over by tyranny, and we owe you a debt of gratitude. So this day is for you, and this webcast is for you. So hang on, and we've got more to come from the Bend Elks Lodge. Now let's learn about the Toys for Tots program. Tots, what's it all about?
Am I interviewing you, or?
No.
Okay. We'll start. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
Hey, back off.
See, this is a really bad.
Be careful on the cord.
Okay.
Go ahead and room back. There's plenty of room back there.
Okay, thank you.
No child left out, right?
Take 2. 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm Dave. Once again, Operation Eagles Wings, honoring all who serve and leaving no one behind. I'm here at Jake's Diners in Bend. Cut 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm Dave with Operation Eagles Wings, honoring all who served and leaving no one behind. Take 4. This isn't going to work.
I think we might want to change location.
We're going to have to change it.
You with Band Brothers?
Test 1, 2, 3, 4. Check 1, 2. Test 1. Now, Mark Wargus and Jerry Johnson.
Yes.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm Dave once again with Operation Eagles Wings, honoring all who served and leaving no one behind. And you know, 'tis the season. Christmas season is coming up, and we are here with 2 U.S. Marines. And of course, Marines, one of the things they're famous for is the Toys for Tots program. And the Toys for Tots program happening once again here in Central Oregon. And Jerry Johnson, you want to tell us about the program?
Toys for Tots program began in the late 40s. And has turned into a national campaign most everybody's familiar with. We place toys, or collection boxes all over town and all over Central Oregon. We encourage everybody to bring a new unwrapped toy for all ages and both genders. And at that point, we collect them, we take them to a central warehouse, and we distribute them out to social societies that know where there are kids in need. So please see one of those collection boxes and be generous and drop a toy in it for a young boy or girl, all the way from toddlers to teenagers. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Now, Jerry, one of the things that's real interesting to me is how the Toys for Tots program began. Mark Wargus is also with us. Do you want to talk a little bit about the history of this, how Toys for Tots began?
Well, in 1947, after World War II, the Marine Corps Reserves in San Diego started distributing toys to the KIA's families, and all of these young people, by golly, were really appreciative. The headquarters of the Marine Corps found out about the Toys for Tots that the Marine Corps Reserves were donating, and he made it a national campaign. Our logo, the train here on the Toys for Tots logo, it was made by Walt Disney. He donated that logo to them, and ever since then we've been trying to make sure that all children are not without a Christmas. There's a little Christmas for everybody, and we sure appreciate everybody's donations to these boxes and our cash donations and monetary donations, that we can fill in those gaps in between 9 and 14 that we're lacking on. So we sure appreciate all your help, and thank you very much.
Now this, Mark, this is really important to do it this year, isn't it? Because the economic uncertainty, the recession has really hit a lot of people. We hear a lot of stories about people struggling to keep their homes, and it's going to be a tough Christmas season for a lot of people. So programs such as Toys for Tots are really important this year, aren't they?
Absolutely. And those gaps, you know, everybody wants to buy a small child presents because they're easy to buy for, but we don't want to forget the kids in between 9 and 14 years old, that there is a big gap. So if you could keep that in mind this Christmas, we'd sure appreciate it.
Jerry, anything you'd like to add?
I was a career reservist and have been involved with the program for 25 or 30 years. One thing that I have found that is critically important: a $10 donation of a new unwrapped toy will get you $1 million smile. And we appreciate that. It's one of the most heartwarming, fuzzy heart stories you'll ever see in your life, is when some of these kids, it might be the only gift they get this year. And the Toys for Tots are bound and determined to make that happen.
So, Jerry, you've seen some of those $1 million smiles, haven't you? How does that, you know, what do you walk away with personally?
As long as I can walk and talk, I will be involved with the Toys for Tots. It is just the most consuming thing. I'll take a second to tell you a story. Both of my daughters were here visiting for the holidays last year, and we had collected toys for weeks. We had nearly 5,000 of them to distribute around Central Oregon. So half a dozen of the Marines in the area loaded them up and took them around to the social agencies that they knew where the kids are and what they needed. Both of my daughters participated, and they spent about 2 hours with tears rolling down their cheeks. They couldn't believe what an awesome experience it was. And I've had the good fortune to enjoy that for about 2 decades.
All right. Mark, you've probably seen some of those $1 million smiles too, haven't you?
Oh, absolutely. It's so gratifying to be able to give, and the support that we get from the community is overwhelming. And we certainly appreciate all your help, and there's nothing better than giving at Christmas.
Now we're here at Jake's Diner in Bend right now, and a box will be here, but where else around Central Oregon can they find these boxes?
You can go online at toysfortots.org and go on the local website. You can scroll down to the state and the city, and you'll find out for Eastern Oregon that the website's available and what we're doing, and you can also make a donation for Bend Oregon Toys for Tots. All of the donations, the toys and the monies and everything that are raised in Central Oregon stay in Central Oregon. And actually this year we've got Harney County, Jefferson County, Crook County, Deschutes County, and Upper Klamath County. So we've got a big area, and they've expanded us to help with those programs, and we certainly appreciate all the help because we could sure use it.
So you can also use cash donations or money donations?
Cash donations are an important part of it because we don't absorb the cash into the organization like way too many charities do, as I see it. We have a very, very high percentage of contributions go right back into the community where we collected them from. We're all volunteers, nobody's paid, but there are minimum costs involved to do this. We put these collection boxes all over in town, and they're marked just like the one you see here, so you can readily recognize them. And there will also be some little boxes, just look like a little bank, has a slot in the top, and you can put your cash donation in that. That is used especially if we have a gap by age or gender. Mark and his wife Susie just went over to Salem and brought back $3,000 or $4,000 worth of toys from the Toys R Us. That company made a very, very generous donation, and that's how we fill the blanks, because it's not a perfect world. We don't get the exact quantity for the exact age for the exact gender. So the cash donations are really important to fill in the gaps.
Okay. Website one more time.
It's toysfortots.org, and you can go scroll down to Bend, Oregon, and you can find our find us on that website and what we do, and it tells you all about it. And also on those donations, I was going to say, if you want to make checks out, you can make them out to Toys for Tot Foundation, and then we'll get them to the right location and where the need is here in Central Oregon.
Okay, anything else you'd like to add?
Please contribute.
Short and sweet to the point. So help the Marines, help Toys for Tots. You know, this year it's going to be difficult for a lot of people, and this is a way that you can step forward and make, the Christmas holiday is really, really important because of the meaning of the season, and it's really important that we as a community step forward and help Toys for Tots and other charitable efforts, because there are a lot of people this year that are really, really hurting, and we need to step forward and help them. So guys, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Semper Fi.
Semper Fi.
Hoorah!
Hoorah! I'm Dave Adams, Operation Eagles Wings, honoring all who served and leaving no one behind. Tots. What's it all? And live we are here at the Elks Lodge in Bend. Again, many thanks to the Bend Elks to allow us to use their facility and set up the pictures we have from Mr. Shaw, who was a photographer for the Army Air Corps. He took hundreds of photos during his career in the Army from 1941 to 1945. We have pictures here of Bob Hope. We have a picture of photojournalist Ernie Pyle and some other interesting photos. The photos we have here today basically show what life was like in the military during World War II. And we have the distinct honor of having a man by the name of John Spence with us here as we're webcasting live from the Elks Lodge in Bend. If you have a question for us, you can call at 541-280-8833, 541-280-8833. Now, John Spence was a member of Special Forces, and he was a frogman during World War II. They now call that the Navy SEALs, but I guess they started the SEALs program in Vietnam. So you were similar to the Navy SEALs before they became the SEALs.
Yeah. The SEALs called me back into and made me a lifetime honorary member, or gave me the trident. That's the badge of a Navy SEAL. And they after I retired, they and the Special Forces called me back in to active duty to present me with a lifetime honorary membership to the Navy SEALs and the Army Special Forces. I was with the 1st Regiment of the Special Forces.
1st Regiment of the Special Forces. Now, you saw action in both the European theater and the Pacific?
That's true. Both.
Were you at D-Day?
On D-Day, I was in Europe. I spent a lot of my time in Europe, and on D-Day I was at
Here's some water if you need it. I'll just put it right over here. Again, we're live here at the Elks Lodge in Bend, and thank you for being with us today. We're talking to John Spence, member of the Special Forces, was a frogman during World War II, and he has some very interesting stories to tell. So, John, you were at D-Day.
D-Day, I was at the launching point for the attacks on the coast of France, and our mission was called Betty mission, and that's what we'd been training for months in the cold water and so forth. We had a lot of problems with the equipment because we were a new unit. We were just starting the frogman.
So a lot of stuff you were doing was experimental. You were kind of blazing the trail.
That's true, and so a lot of our equipment was very, very primitive. It was hard to get equipment that we needed. We needed waterproof watches. We needed waterproof depth charges. We need our depth gauges, and we needed compasses, waterproof. And the only thing we could find, because everybody was busy at that time because the war was coming, and they were all had war contracts, and they were all busy, and we were reluctant to change and retool for making equipment that we needed. So when we finally got the equipment that we thought we needed in boxes, it said on there Boy Scouts, and they weren't. They didn't say they were waterproof. They said they were rain repellent, and so they did not function very well for our operation. And most of our equipment was primitive. The rebreather that we used for swimming underwater was designed and invented and produced by Dr. Chris Lamerson, who was a professor at the University of Pennsylvania. And
so the rebreather is like a scuba tank?
It was a scuba type built over instead of the idea was that regular scuba diving equipment had telltale bubbles on the surface because you could tell that there was a diver there by just watching where the bubbles were. And so he made a rebreather where you could recirculate take the nitrogen out of or carbon dioxide out of your breath and rebreathe it, and using the oxygen in the oxygen tank, plus and it would, when you breathed out, it would go in one side of the mask. And incidentally, in going back to the primitive type of equipment we had, the mask on our rebreathing apparatuses were World War I gas masks, and so our equipment that we had to use for the mission was so primitive and so forth that I feel like that when our missions were scrubbed on D-Day, that had a lot to do with it. It was just the idea that the equipment wasn't up to doing the job that we were trained to do, and so.
So you were using a World War I gas mask. Wasn't it hard to keep the water out because they really weren't designed to be used underwater?
Our whole equipment, our wetsuit was leaked like sieve. I mean, we had water poured into our wetsuits, and we were training in 57 degrees of water, and so what we would do, we'd try swimming during the day because the mission was very secretive, and so we had to do all of our training at night, and so we had to in the daytime we'd swim with just swimsuits to try to acclimatize our bodies so that we could use this cold water for the mission. And
pretty cold water over in Europe and off the coast of France and England, isn't it?
That was one of the reasons that that the Navy SEALs called us back in, was because we made so much advancement over working with the cold water that they now use it, and so they made us a lifetime honor remember because of the work that we did on the equipment that we were using during World War II.
But you probably also gave them a lot of advice on how to psychologically and deal with your body.
That's true.
Cold water.
Yes, that's very true, and so that we tried a lot of things. We came up. We had to our equipment. The oxygen was metered at so much for normal swimming, but when you exerted yourself, you use more oxygen, so you'd have to bypass the automatic valve and give yourself a shot by turning it with your hands. So our hands got so cold that we couldn't turn the oxygen tanks on. So we come up with the idea that hunters would know in a moment. They called them pocket warmers. They're little packets of chemicals that you wet them a little, and they generate heat. So we put them on our arms and put a glove over the top, and that would warm our hands enough so that we could turn the valves on.
So you used those during World War II?
World War II, yes.
What other action did you see? Can you tell us about some of the missions you were on? It's, of course, declassified now.
Well, it was our missions were mostly it was secret training, actually, because we trained at Annapolis Navy Academy, and so we used their swimming pools for exercise and to work out with our underwater equipment. We used the swimming pools there, but they blackened the windows so that no one could see what we were doing because it was so highly classified. They didn't want the enemy to know that we were copying the Italians who were sinking ships down in South Africa. So.
And how did they do that? How did they sink the ships? Could you tell us?
They had a magnetic device. It was called limpets, and they were magnetic, and they had a control at each end, and the way you detonated these limpets. In other words, you go down on the side of a steel ship about 10 feet below the water, and you could blow a 30-foot hole in the side of a ship along an engine room or something, and sink the ship. And so these limpets we could load them with TNT. They had 3 pounds of TNT in them, and they detonated. They had 2 detonators, one from each end, so that if one didn't go off, you could get the other one. And they were quite a thoughtful device of how to detonate, because they had little tubes of acid. The acids were so strong that they eat through a diaphragm, and when that would drop a plunger, which would detonate a number 9 detonator, which would set off the charge. And
so how could you time the detonation so you could swim away from it? Was it
the color of the capsules we used? We had from 15 minutes to 3 hours of the different colored capsules, and of course the red was the closest. That went off in 15 minutes, and the different colors, and we put those in there, and that was the strength of the acid that would eat through these diaphragms to set off the detonator to actuate these magnetic charges on the side of the enemy ships.
Reliable?
Well, they're very reliable. They never failed, and they also we used them on blowing up bridges behind enemy lines. We used the same type of devices, only we used them. They didn't have to be isolated in a magnetic form.
So you spent some time underwater sinking ships and going
Yes.
up and putting a magnetic charge on a ship about 10 feet below the water.
That's what we.
And blowing up bridges.
And that was done behind enemy lines, and that was we trained a lot of free Frenchmen that had escaped from France, came to England, and they came to us for training to do these detonating things and handle the explosives. We became very professional in the use of explosives. We could use them for a lot of different things, like we could cause panics in a gymnasium or a movie house or anything like that by some of the devices that we could manufacture very easily.
Okay. So in the Pacific, were you at Pearl Harbor, for example?
No. I went in 1936, and I retired in 4 years, and then when Pearl Harbor happened, I went back in. I was actually at the football game when the Japs hit Pearl Harbor, and I was went immediately. I went to Washington D.C. to the personnel office at the Navy personnel office and volunteered. I volunteered I had been qualified as a deep sea diver, and so when I went to the personnel office in Washington D.C., they had put out a call for ex-Navy gunners to come and man these. They called them armed guards to man these guns aboard our transports and cargo ships that the Germans were sinking with the PT boats, and that they were, and so I asked to join the armed guard because I was a gunner by trade, and the personnel office said, I don't know why you'd want to do that, because right now the casualty rate for armed guard gunners is about 85%.
That's pretty high.
Yeah, and he said that he'd just done everything, pulled all the strings that he could pull, because he was about to be drafted as a gunnery officer aboard one of the ships as a gunnery officer, and he'd done everything to get out of it. So he said he had my record there, and he said, I see that you're a qualified deep sea diver. And I said yes, and he said, I see that you have I have a call for a diver from the OSS, and so he said, I'm sending you down to the Navy Yard to answer this call for a deep sea diver. And so I went down there and I stayed around for weeks, and I wanted to get into the war, and I kept going to the personnel office, and they said, we can't find out anything about this thing that you're going to do. And he says, just hang in there till we find out. So they finally did send me to a area down below Washington D.C. called Area D, and that's where we trained to operate on the things that we were doing, which was.
So in the Pacific, you did deep sea diving. That's what you did.
Yeah, I did. I was a deep sea diver when I was when I first went in the Navy. I was on a battleship Idaho, and I was a gunner on there in the turrets, and all the big ships at that time, the carriers and old battleships, they all had a small unit of volunteers to train as divers, and you had to go to diving school and make these dives to become to get the license to become a deep sea diver, and so I did that.
So Special Forces, did you enjoy Special Forces? Was it?
That Special Forces mostly was after Vietnam, when all the services started, when NASA was dropping the people in capsules on the return from spaceships, and so they were having problems when they dropped into the ocean. The guys were beat around, and so they needed help. So they started the air sea rescue groups, and so right away they needed a underwater person. So I got called for that duty, and that's how I got into Special Forces, because Special Forces was the ones that was doing. They were the ones that were doing the air sea rescue training.
Did you ever go out and rescue any spacemen?
Yes.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I forget which one of his name was, but I was very honored that I was involved in it, because he'd been beat around quite a bit. He'd been wobbling, and the ocean was quite rough. And so, the time we got him onto a safe ship, well, he'd taken quite a beating.
Yeah.
Coming back into space, they roll him around quite bad. And
Hard swimming in the ocean, isn't it?
yes, it is. Yeah, but I always I do a lot since I retired. I do a lot of lecturing at high schools and so forth.
On what?
On mostly diving and scuba diving. They're mostly that's getting very popular.
Sure.
I have a granddaughter that's doing it. She's having trouble with her ears, but I have a granddaughter that's into that. And I tell all the young people that there's a whole new world down there, and that they should, if they got a chance to go beneath the surface, they should do it. And
what was going through your mind? Excuse me for interrupting, but so you'd been out of the Army, and then Pearl Harbor attack happened, and then you went and re-enlisted.
Yeah.
What was going through your mind, and what was going through the mind of the country on the December 7th, 70 years ago? There was a lot of anger, a lot of what was going on? What was the mindset?
It was at that time. It was everybody had they had the idea that they wanted to help. They wanted to get into something to help, and they did it in so many different ways. And of course, like I said, they had a call out for gunners, and I went immediately out from the time that I heard about Pearl Harbor. I went immediately to Washington, D.C.
Was there a feeling among the country that an attack was imminent? We hear this surprise attack, but did everybody kind of feel at some point war would break out between Japan and the U.S.?
I don't think it was as strong as it was that we knew that we were going to invade France. I mean, that we were going to go back and take France over. Right. I think that was more of a positive thought than because we wasn't really having any. It was mostly political, but as far as Japan, and so I don't think that most people came as more or less as a surprise. I know it was to me that because they're kind of a mystery race. The Japanese are. They're kind of a quiet type people, sure. And so they. I was surprised that they would attack the United States.
What lesson should we take away from Pearl Harbor?
That we'd never allow our service to be our country to be unprepared. I'm really concerned about several things. One is our borders, and the other one is I just the other night I passed out hundreds of prizes for the ROTC kids, and I admire those kids. They're a great bunch of kids, and they're talking about taking that from some of the schools. And
so what do you think about that? Budget cutting, ending the ROTC program, there's a lot of talk about that. You're not in favor of that?
Yeah, I'm not in favor of that at all. I think that's great. I think that's a great thing for young people. I think it's helped a lot of them, and what a nice looking bunch they are. They're clean and they're polite, and they're just nice to be around when you read the papers and see what other things are going on with the young people.
When you talk to young people, what message do you have to them? Is it a message of patriotism, honor, country? What do you want to tell the next generation?
What I've been emphasizing, like I said, is I tell them that they eventually we live below the surface now, and in submarines and so forth they live for weeks and subs, and I believe in myself that eventually, not in my day of course, but some of these very young people, maybe in their day, that they'll see the below the surface will be have people living there, and because we already have a food source from below the surface, and so we could actually live there if we had to, and I believe that one day it will happen because it's a beautiful world down there, and I emphasize very strongly that they will that the young people will take advantage of it.
Well, John, we've had you talking for quite a while here, so I'll let you take a break and get a drink of water. But, sir, thank you very much for the service to your country.
Thank you.
Very honored to talk to you, and thank you for all you've done for the cause of freedom.
Thank you for recognizing me. I appreciate it.
Okay, and thank you for everything you've done. Okay, John Spence, member of Special Forces, and served as a frogman during World War II, and we are webcasting live from Bend, Oregon. We're at the Elks Lodge. We're at the Elks Lodge here, and we are talking to a number of folks about their experience during World War II. We don't have any Pearl Harbor survivors here today. We will on our website have some news footage from Pearl. It's the last significant commemorative event. It's the 70th anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor. And the two Pearl Harbor survivors we do have from Central Oregon are actually in Pearl now. And hopefully we'll get some video of them, not during the webcast today, but later on. Our website is eagle1.tv, E-A-G-L-E, the number 1.tv. John, thank you for being with us today. God bless you, my friend. Thank you for all you've done for your country.
When will this air?
It's airing right now. But it will also be on our website, and we can give you that website. You can go on and you can actually watch it. Okay, John, thanks. Hang on, folks, and we will have another interview coming up. I think we have a PT boat captain here as well, and some other folks. And as we change gears here a little bit, I'm Dave Adams. This is Operation Eagles Wings. One of the things that we want to do is go around the state of Oregon, and EVM Media, EVM News Media, actually have three networks. We have TJN, the Jesus Network, which is a Christian news network. We have Operation Eagles Wings, where we tell the story of veterans and we tell issues that are going on affecting veterans, like today, significant day in our nation's history and in the lives of the men and women who have served, fought, and died for our country. And so we wanted to do something special to honor those. And one of the people we're going to be talking to today are relatives of Mr. Shaw, who is the military photographer whose pictures that we are showing today. And we will have Bob Pfeiffer, who this was his idea to have this event, and we'll have Bob on before we get off the air today. We're going to be on till about 7 o'clock tonight here with probably pretty much a continuous live webcast here from the Elks Lodge. If you have any questions or comments or want to share your thoughts with veterans, you can give us a call at 541-280-8833, 541-280-8833. And we have Benny Dexter is going to be joining us right now. He's Semper Fi, United States Marine. Benny? Thank you, sir. Lauren, that's
my post.
That's your post. Okay. Lauren, I talked to you on the phone the other day. Lauren Hiring. Okay. Lauren Myring. Sorry, Lauren. Okay. Lauren, God bless you. Thank you for all you've done for your country. Let me get your microphone here. And we're live on the internet right now.
Okay.
And we are telling the story as it was lived by World War II veterans such as yourself. So when in the service, you were in the Marines?
That's right.
Okay. You serve in Europe?
No, I served in the Pacific.
Pacific Ocean. And what did you do during World War II?
Well, I was in the communications. I worked basically with in combat, I worked basically with the Navajo code talkers. you've heard of them.
Yes, I have. Very interesting
If
story.
it wasn't for them, we probably wouldn't have won the war, actually.
Interesting language. A language that they couldn't break the code.
Well, every Indian language in the United States have been written down except for the Navajo language. It's the only one in the United States that hadn't been written down.
Okay.
It was all passed from father to son, and all the reservation schools that the Navajos went to, if they spoke their own language, they would punish them by putting them down in the basement, chain them, and everything else.
Really?
They wouldn't let them speak their own language, but of course they still spoke it. But in 1943 or 42 was the guy that name of Johnston, who had grown up on a Navajo reservation because his father was a teacher. He approached the Marine Corps and told them that if they would take some of these Navajo young men, they could probably make a code that the Japanese couldn't break. See, the Japanese would break every code we had. There was none that they couldn't break. And that was really devastating for the combat troops.
Oh, yeah, because they could basically read our mail.
Right.
Knew what we were going to do.
So they took 29 Navajo, put them through boot camp, and then put them through the Marine Corps radio school, and then they told them to make a code within a code using their own language and also the American language, so that the Japs wouldn't be able to decode it or find out what it was about.
And they couldn't break the code during the entire war.
Couldn't break the code. They started in the Guadalcanal, and they increased the amount of Navajos all through the war, and went every battle in the Pacific. They were there, and they did. The Japanese captured a Navajo who was in the army on Leyte when the Philippines took the Philippines.
Yeah.
He was taken to Japan. He was taken to Japan and tortured over and over again, trying to get him to break that code, but he couldn't break it because it was a code within a code, and the only persons that knew about it was the one that put that together in the radio school, and all the ones subsequently that learned it as they came through school.
Oh, so he couldn't. Was it a code written in such a way that even if you wanted to share that with him, he couldn't, just because?
No,
So it's a very secure code.
A very secure code. Never was broken, and it cut down the time. I went through message center school for 3 months when I was in the Marine Corps, as an encoder and decoder, and after, well, you could still use it during the peacetime and so forth, and when we went in combat. But once you got into combat, it would take 10 minutes to get that thing decoded and encoded when they came on up the other end, and the Navajos could get that to each other. There were 2 Navajos in each battalion.
Okay.
And one would talk to the other, and they'd get that information in 3 minutes. And they'd have it would take them 10 minutes to get the information so they could start shelling someplace where they were going to shell. Right. By that time, the Japs had moved or something was different. But with this code, where they were just right on the button all the time.
Wow. Was it the symbols they used, or was it the actual enunciation of the words? Both?
It was the words themselves. Yeah. You can. I don't know. That video that I've got here has got a Navajo talking the Navajo language, telling that Mount Suribachi had been secured.
Right.
And you look at it on a piece of paper, and it's quite a few lines of language, but actually it's not very much there, except when they decode it,
Yeah. So you were also on Iwo Jima. In fact, your hat says you're 5th Marine Division USMC World War II Iwo Jima survivor.
That's right.
That was a massive battle there on Iwo Jima. A lot of Marines lost their lives.
That was the worst battle in the Marine Corps history. Still, it's never been. It's still the worst battle that they ever had.
Because of the loss of life.
Right, and also because of the whole island was only 5 miles long and 3.5 miles wide at the widest point, and they had bombed it for 72 days consecutively. It's the longest sustained bombing in the Pacific War, and they thought everything was gone. Now, when we've got our briefing on the LST before we went in on the night before, they told us that we'd had 48 hours to secure the island. They figured there was nothing left. But their area, this was all due to aerial surveillance. They had, they could see the island and see determine a lot of the stuff there. And they had all gotten a lot of intelligence from all the other islands that they'd hit, and found out maps and stuff that they could determine that there were blockhouses here and blockhouses there and so forth and so on. But what they didn't see was that they had built 5 stories down of tunnels, 5 stories down, and they had 16 miles of interconnecting tunnels all over the island. And they also had built up these 3 big banks or shelves on each side of the. We only had two beaches that we could land. It was one on one side and one on the other side. The rest of the island was all real high cliffs all the way around. And
so it was a real easy island to defend, real easy island, or hard island to attack.
Right. And then these terraces that they built, they were 15 foot high and 15 across and 15 up again. The 3 of them that were, and there was all this black lava sand, and that lava sand was just like if you put your foot in a salad full of wheat, it would sink right in. And when we came on shore with all our heavy equipment, ammunition, guns, and so forth, and every time you stepped into one of the, tried to pick your way up the terrace, well, you just sink right in and you stop there. And this happened. So I was in the first wave. I was lucky to be in the first wave.
You're lucky to be alive.
Lucky to be there because they let the first 3 waves get in before they really started pounding with the mortars and the artillery pieces. The first 3 waves were all Amtraks. I went right up on the beach without even getting my feet wet. The rest of them, all the rest of the waves were all Higgins boats, and the front came down.
Right.
So after the first 3 waves, these waves were coming in 5 minutes apart.
Okay.
So all 3 waves were backed up on these terraces, and then they started sending the shells in from all the mortar placements and all the big heavy artillery that they had up in Mount Sarabachi and the other north end of the island. And they had every square inch of that beach had been zeroed in before we even landed. So all they had to do was just drop their weapons, drop the mortars in, and just keep on going across and back and forth. So every square inch of that beach was being hit almost simultaneously at the same time, and there was body parts flying in all directions, and we had almost 500 killed on the beach the first day. And
so it's kind of interesting in that's what happened during Vietnam as well, is that the enemy went underground. And that was a significant problem for the American forces in Vietnam. And that was a big reason why it was so difficult to take Iwo Jima, where they could bomb it for so long and they survived.
Yeah, the Vietnamese had all those tunnels underneath the ground too.
Well, you're blessed to be alive.
Oh, very lucky to be alive. Well,
you have the Purple Heart, so were you wounded at Iwo Jima?
Yeah, it was. I landed on the 19th day of February, and on the 9th of March, I was working with a Navajo code talker. His name was Willie Nota, and he and me were digging a foxhole on top of a small hill. And we saw these artillery spotters coming back through us, and the Japs must have spotted them too. And they let 350 millimeter mortars go, just bing, 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 just like that, right on one side of the hill, one side of the other side of the hill, and one right on top of us. And right in front of Willie was from here to that camera in front of me, and it blew him straight up in the air. They could see his body flying way up in the air, about 25 feet. And when he came down, his right leg was gone, and he was filled with shrapnel, but he was still alive. But he died, and I understand he died on the way back to the field hospital. But because I was directly behind him, if I would have been inches to either side, I would have got killed. But because I was directly behind him, he took the full blast, and I was blown back into a shell hole about 15 feet away, and got a bad concussion, knocked unconscious, and just got a small head wound. And so I was taken back into down to the beach, to the hospital down on the beach, and they kept me for 3 days, and as I wasn't wounded enough, bad enough to ship off the island, they put me back in the front line. I spent the rest of the 36 days there. And a lot of guys were wounded 3 or 4 times, and as long as they hadn't been wounded bad enough to ship them off the island, they put them right back because we didn't have any men left. Practically all of our officers were dead or wounded, and practically all of our NCOs and so forth, and all these they were cleaning out the camps in the United States and sending them over there immediately, you know. And a lot of these kids just got out of boot camp, and they weren't trained, and they didn't last more than a day, you know. They were dead. And
so
it's just
it was a meat grinder.
It was terrible. It was really terrible, you know. And Willie Noda was just 19 years old when he was killed. Just before we left the States, he got married, and his wife had a baby girl while he was overseas, and he'd never seen her except pictures.
Yeah.
And so after the war, my platoon, when we went across New Mexico or Arizona, we'd look for her, and we never did find her until about 10 years ago. We were having a platoon reunion in Dallas, Texas, and we found out that she was going to the University of El Paso and studying to be a psychiatric nurse, I guess it was. And so we got a hold of her, and we had her flown over to Dallas, and we spent 5 days with her and showed her pictures of Willie, and she told her all about her father, whom she'd never seen. And because the reason we couldn't find her is her wife, or her mother remarried, changed the name, and then they had a big house fire and burned up everything of Willie's records, everything about him, just burned everything up. So she didn't know anything about him. So then we got the 5th Marine Division Association, the scholarship fund, and we got her a scholarship to help her through college.
Okay. Iwo Jima, what was the key in taking that island? Just the sheer amount of people we threw at it, or what really turned the battle for us there?
Well, a lot of people thought that when that flag went up on Suribachi, that was the end of the battle. That was only the 3rd day. You know, most of it was left yet, but that was a kind of a turning point, because once they secured that island, that hill, it was only 550 feet tall, an extinct volcano, but it was kind of, you know, a lot of places on the inside where they had tunnels, and big places where they had big guns stashed in there, and they had big iron steel doors that they could open up and shove the guns out on tracks, and then shoot and then put them back in and close the doors again. And once we secured that hill, why that mean we weren't going to have any more stuff coming down from here. It was just like shooting us, like a, you know, just like a shooting. It was
ducks in a barrel.
Yeah, it was really, for them looking down on us. Well, they could shoot anywhere they want, you know, and it was really a murder. And so once we got them secured, then we just had the fire coming from the other end of the island.
Now that picture of the flag going up on Mount Suribachi in Iwo Jima it's become very iconic for a picture of just American persistence and perseverance and patriotism. Did you see that flag go up? From what I understand, most people at Iwo Jima didn't see that flag go up.
I seen the first flag go up.
Right.
Now that was replaced by 2 hours later with a larger flag.
Okay.
The first flag, I never saw the second flag, the one that Joe Rosenthal took a picture of. I never saw that. You seen the first one, and once it went up, all the ships out in the bay were ringing their bells and shooting out their whistles and everything. You could hear it all over the whole island. Everybody was so elated about it, and
so it was a huge morale booster.
Yeah, it really was. And of course, the 6 men that raised the first flag, 3 of those were killed before they got off the island. And the 6 men that raised the second flag, 3 of those men were killed before they got off the island. So there was only 3 men left in the second flag, and they were taken back to the States for war bond tours. Yeah. And they raised many millions of dollars because of that picture, just that picture, you know, and the talking. And if it hadn't been for that, I don't know if you know this, but the United States was broke. They didn't have any money to buy any more weapons, any more ammunition, anything. I mean, if they hadn't raised all those millions of dollars, we would have been, I don't know what happened. Probably lost the war.
Wow.
So that picture really saved a lot. I mean, that picture was something. The next morning, and all the pages across the United States it was on, and everybody had a big morale boost because of it.
Pearl Harbor, that's what we're remembering today because it was 70 years ago today of the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. Were you in the Marines at that point, or did you join afterwards?
No. I was when the war started. I was only 15 years old.
Okay.
So I didn't come into the Marine Corps in 1943.
Okay.
And of course we done our training over on the Big Island of Hawaii. Camp Tarawa, which is a big camp that the 2nd Marine Division, after they had hit Tarawa, they built that camp and called it Camp Tarawa. It was donated by the owner. I forget his first name, but his last name was King. He had the King Ranches in Texas, and he had a huge King Ranch on the island of Hawaii. He donated that land to the Marine Corps for the rest of the war, so we could train there.
Okay. What went through your mind when you heard about Pearl Harbor?
I can't remember what happened, but I mean it was just a
lot of anger.
Oh boy, I was only 15 years old. I can remember when it happened because we were sitting in our living room, and I lived with my sister. My sister raised me when my mother died when I was 8 years old, and my sister was 18. She just got married. She took me and raised me from the time I was 8 till 18. And when I went in the Marine Corps, we were sitting in the living room, and we had one of those little Philco radios, little tiny things.
Yeah.
And President Roosevelt came on and said that, and it was devastating to everybody. I mean, it was just who couldn't understand it, what happened.
So, from the news reports we're hearing, people were just flocking down to the enlistment stations to enlist.
The next morning, a lot of men went enlisted, but of course I was too young to enlist.
Yeah, because you were 15. So you went in when you were 18?
Right.
Served as a U.S. Marine. How long did you serve?
Well, I was in World War II from 46 to 43 to 47, and then I was back in from 48 to 51 because I was in the active reserve and got called back in the Korean War, but I never got to Korea, luckily.
Okay. Because
the people that our battalion was stationed in Old Chamberlain Field, Minneapolis, Minnesota, is where I lived. When the war started in June of 1950, they had us on a train going to Camp Pendleton on the 1st of July. And we got out there. They divided us into 3 groups. The first group hadn't had much training. They sent them to boot camp in San Diego. The second group had more training, so they sent them to Camp Pendleton for further combat conditioning. And the third group was all World War II veterans. And they kept about 10 of us back. They gave us a big examination. Kept about 10 of us back because we had something wrong with us. It was my heart, I guess. They figured there was something wrong with my heart, so. And to re-examine us the next day. But the rest of the guys, the World War II veterans, they were sent over by plane to Korea immediately, right the next day. And half of those guys got killed in the Chosin Reservoir, so I was very lucky that I didn't get over there.
Wow. What lesson should we learn from, first of all, Pearl Harbor?
Well, I think that probably we'd better be more vigilant. A lot of those things that you probably read in the paper this morning about the myths. Did you read about that?
I didn't read them, but what I was looking at was I was pulling the archive from the video that we're playing on the other side of the room right now. Is a lot of the airmen, they were working on planes and they were looking up as the Japanese airplanes were swooping in to dive bomb. They had no idea what they were.
No.
We were totally caught flat-footed. We were totally unaware.
No, they didn't know anything about it, but yet the people in Washington were very well aware that something was about to happen.
So I guess one lesson we learned as a nation is we can't be caught that flat-footed again, and if we do, a lot of people are going to die.
That's right.
About 1,000 people died on the USS Arizona alone when the bomb went through and hit the magazine and blew the ship apart.
Yeah.
Over 2,000 people died at Pearl Harbor, 2,900, I think. and about 1,000 in that one ship alone.
Right.
Iwo Jima. What lessons did we learn from Iwo Jima?
Well,
Don't give up, I guess, is one lesson.
well, I think that we should never try to outguess the enemy, because we don't know what they're doing. I mean, we didn't know anything about those caves down below, or anything about the interconnecting tunnels and all that stuff. So that it was just a big surprise to everybody. And those after the 36 days were over, and we pushed them off the Catano Point way up in the north end of the island. Everybody thought the war was over, because all the firing had stopped. So all the people down in the tent camp on the beach, there was a lot of 51 pilots down there, a lot of whole hospital was down there, and the corpsmen, and a lot of people that were working on the bringing supplies in and so forth. They were all going to get their first night of real good sleep. So they didn't. That's another thing. They should have an armed guard all the time, no matter what, even when the war is over. I mean, this is ridiculous, because there was no guard on, and during the night, about 250 Japs came from all parts of the island, because they had those tunnels. Yeah. They all met together, and they came out and they attacked this tent city. They just cut the tents open with their sabers, and they killed 44 airmen before they even got out of their sacks. And so they had a big fight there, probably about 2 or 3 hours, and they finally killed most of them, 217, I think it was. Anyway, there was a group of Marines that were going to be going back aboard ship the next day. But the trouble is, they'd taken all their ammunition away from them, because they didn't want any accidents to happen on board ship.
And so
they were flat-footed.
Again.
Vigilance is what you need.
Yeah. Let me reach across here. Turn down the video just a little bit. There we go. Sorry about that. What do you tell young people today about honor, duty, patriotism? What message do you have for the next generation?
Well, I think that every generation that comes up, I think everybody should, all the men and the women too, should be indoctrinated in all the things that have happened to us in the wars previous, and they should be very vigilant about what's happening. And I think that the best thing that they could do for any young man or young woman would to spend a little time in the service. If they went in the service and went through boot camp, it would probably change a lot of their lives. A lot of these kids are on drugs and doing things that they shouldn't be doing, and I think that going into a boot camp and being trained as a serviceman, it would help an awful lot of them get on the right track.
Okay. Myron, thank you very much, sir, for the service to your country.
You're welcome.
Thank you for serving with the Marines, and glad you made it off Iwo Jima. And one of the things that we need to remember is that there were a lot of people in Pearl Harbor, a couple thousand, that didn't make it. A lot of people didn't make it off Iwo Jima, and these are men and women in some cases that fought and died so that we could be free. And this generation is described as the world's greatest generation, because they stopped tyranny from taking over the globe. And we could learn a lesson from the sacrifice they made, and we obviously need to show them that we really appreciate the risk they took and what they did to make sure that you and I are free today. So, sir, thank you very much for what you've done.
You're welcome.
And we are here live at the Elks Lodge in Bend, and we do want to once again thank you for visiting with us today. Thank the Elks for the use of their facility, and we are going to be having some more conversations with some World War II veterans here today as we're continuing our live webcast. So stay on, stick around, and we have more to come here as Operation Eagles Wings is webcasting live from the Elks Lodge in Bend. We're going to have a word now about Toys for Tots, a move by the Marine Corps and other volunteers to raise money and to raise toys for needy young kids here in Central Oregon and across the nation. Tots, what's it all about?
Am I interviewing you or? No. Okay. We'll start. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
Hey, back off.
See, this is a really bad.
Be careful on the cord.
Okay.
Go ahead and room back. There's plenty of room back there.
Okay, thank you.
No child left out, right?
Take 2, 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm Dave. Once again, Operation Eagles Wings, honoring all who serve and leaving no one behind. I'm here at Jake's Diners in Bend. Cut 3, 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm Dave with Operation Eagles Wings, honoring all who served and leaving no one behind. Take 4. This isn't going to work.
I think we might want to change location.
We're going to have to change it.
You with Band Brothers?
Test 1, 2, 3, 4. Check 1, 2. Test 1. Now, Mark Wargus and Jerry Johnson. Yes. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm Dave once again with Operation Eagles Wings, honoring all who served and leaving no one behind. And you know, 'tis the season. Christmas season is coming up, and we are here with 2 U.S. Marines. And of course, Marines, one of the things they're famous for is the Toys for Tots program. And the Toys for Tots program happening once again here in Central Oregon. And Jerry Johnson, you want to tell us about the program?
Toys for Tots program began in the late 40s. And has turned into a national campaign most everybody's familiar with. We place toys, or collection boxes all over town and all over Central Oregon. We encourage everybody to bring a new unwrapped toy for all ages and both genders. And at that point, we collect them, we take them to a central warehouse, and we distribute them out to social societies that know where there are kids in need. So please see one of those collection boxes and be generous and drop a toy in it for a young boy or girl, all the way from toddlers to teenagers. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Now, Jerry, one of the things that's real interesting to me is how the Toys for Tots program began. Mark Wargus is also with us. Do you want to talk a little bit about the history of this, how Toys for Tots began?
Well, in 1947, after World War II, the Marine Corps Reserves in San Diego started distributing toys to the KIA's families, and all of these young people, by golly, were really appreciative. The headquarters of the Marine Corps found out about the Toys for Tots that the Marine Corps Reserves were donating, and he made it a national campaign. Our logo, the train here on the Toys for Tots logo, it was made by Walt Disney. He donated that logo to them, and ever since then we've been trying to make sure that all children are not without a Christmas. There's a little Christmas for everybody, and we sure appreciate everybody's donations to these boxes and our cash donations and monetary donations, that we can fill in those gaps in between 9 and 14 that we're lacking on. So we sure appreciate all your help, and thank you very much.
Now this, Mark, this is really important to do it this year, isn't it? Because the the economic uncertainty, the recession has really hit a lot of people. We hear a lot of stories about people struggling to keep their homes, and it's going to be a tough Christmas season for a lot of people. So programs such as Toys for Tots are really important this year, aren't they?
Absolutely. And those gaps, you know, everybody wants to buy a small child presents because they're easy to buy for, but we don't want to forget the kids in between 9 and 14 years old, that there is a big gap. So if you could keep that in mind this Christmas, we'd sure appreciate it.
Jerry, anything you'd like to add?
I was a career reservist and have been involved with the program for 25 or 30 years. One thing that I have found that is critically important, a $10 donation of a new unwrapped toy will get you $1 million smile. And we appreciate that. It's one of the most heartwarming, fuzzy heart stories you'll ever see in your life is when some of these kids, it might be the only gift they get this year. And the Toys for Tots are bound and determined to make that happen.
So, Jerry, you've seen some of those $1 million smiles, haven't you? How does that, you know, what do you walk away with personally?
As long as I can walk and talk, I will be involved with the Toys for Tots. It is just the most consuming thing. I'll take a second to tell you a story. Both of my daughters were here visiting for the holidays last year, and we had collected toys for weeks. We had nearly 5,000 of them to distribute around Central Oregon. So half a dozen of the Marines in the area loaded them up and took them around to the social agencies that they knew where the kids are and what they needed. Both of my daughters participated, and they spent about 2 hours with tears rolling down their cheeks. They couldn't believe what an awesome experience it was. And I've had the good fortune to enjoy that for about 2 decades.
All right. Mark, you've probably seen some of those $1 million smiles too, haven't you?
Oh, absolutely. It's so gratifying to be able to give, and the support that we get from the community is overwhelming. And we certainly appreciate all your help, and there's nothing better than giving at Christmas.
Now, we're here at Jake's Diner in Bend right now, and a box will be here, but where else around Central Oregon can they find these boxes?
You can go online at toysfortots.org and go on the local website. You can scroll down to the state and the city, and you'll find out for Eastern Oregon that the website's available and what we're doing, and you can also make a donation for Bend, Oregon Toys for Tots. All of the donations, the toys and the monies and everything that are raised in Central Oregon stay in Central Oregon. And actually this year we've got Harney County, Jefferson County, Crook County, Deschutes County, and Upper Klamath County. So we've got a big area, and they've expanded us to help with those programs, and we certainly appreciate all the help because we could sure use it.
So you can also use cash donations or money donations?
Cash donations are an important part of it because we don't absorb the cash into the organization like way too many charities do, as I see it. We have a very, very high percentage of contributions go right back into the community where we collected them from. We're all volunteers, nobody's paid, but there are minimum costs involved to do this. We put these collection boxes all over in town, and they're marked just like the one you see here, so you can readily recognize them. And there will also be some little boxes, just look like a little bank, has a slot in the top, and you can put your cash donation in that. That is used especially if we have a gap by age or gender. Mark and his wife Susie just went over to Salem and brought back $3,000 or $4,000 worth of toys from the Toys R Us. That company made a very, very generous donation, and that's how we fill the blanks, because it's not a perfect world. We don't get the exact quantity for the exact age for the exact gender. So the cash donations are really important to fill in the gaps.
Okay. Website one more time.
It's toysfortots.org, and you can go scroll down to Bend, Oregon, and you can find our find us on that website and what we do, and it tells you all about it. And also on those donations, I was going to say, if you want to make checks out, you can make them out to Toys for Tot Foundation, and then we'll get them to the right location and where the need is here in Central Oregon.
Okay, anything else you'd like to add?
Please contribute.
Short and sweet, to the point. So help the Marines, help Toys for Tots. You know, this year it's going to be difficult for a lot of people, and this is a way that you can step forward and make, you know, the Christmas holiday is really, really important because of the meaning of the season, and it's really important that we as a community step forward and help Toys for Tots and other charitable efforts, because there are a lot of people this year that are really, really hurting, and we need to step forward and help them. So guys, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Semper Fi.
Semper Fi.
Hoorah!
Hoorah! I'm Dave Adams, Operation Eagles Wings, honoring all who served and leaving no one behind. It's being broadcast right now. In fact, we're on live right now. We are www.eagle1.tv. Yeah, it's EAGLE, the number 1.tv. And we're webcasting live from the Bend Elks Lodge. Thank you again to the club here for allowing us to use their facility, as we're remembering the 70th anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor and using this today to honor World War II veterans as well. We have another World War II veteran here, George Larson. Now, George Larson was the captain of PT boat PT-189. Right. George, glad to have you with us today. Thanks for being with us today, as we're honoring all who served and leaving no one behind. So, PT boat duty, patrol torpedo boat. What exactly was a patrol torpedo boat? We know a lot about PT boats because we heard about John F. Kennedy and PT-109. Well, you were the captain of PT-189. Did you ever meet John F. Kennedy?
I met him one time.
Go ahead and hold that a little bit closer. There you go.
I met him one time. He was supposed to be an instructor back in Melville, our training station, and he was supposed to have been an instructor, but he never showed up to instruct.
Oh, okay. Wonder where he was.
He was out chasing.
Okay. He had a bit of a reputation for that.
That's right.
So PT boats, what exactly did the PT boats do?
Well, they ran all kinds of errands, but we were the most weaponized vessel in the Navy for its size and weight.
Okay.
We had all kinds of guns and cannon on it.
Okay. Really fast boat, wasn't it?
We were about the same as a Japanese destroyer.
About 40 knots.
42, 43 knots, yes.
We view PT boat duty as it was pretty glamorous duty. Was it as glamorous as the movies and all of the image of it? Or was it hard work?
Well, there were some times it was glamorous. Matter of fact, we were known as the Glamour Fleet sometimes.
Yeah.
That was just because we were so free, and nobody was stuck in one place. That's for sure.
Okay. They're pretty maneuverable, so they had low draft so they could get into shallow areas.
Yes, but we lost most of the boats lost in the war were boats that we lost on the reefs.
Really, that struck a reef.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of armor on the PT boat, was there?
No, practically none.
So it was made of plywood?
No, we had plywood topside.
Okay.
But the hull itself was made of 2 layers of mahogany wood, and they're laid 45 degrees to the keel. So one one layer was going one way and the other was going across it.
Okay. So were you in the Navy when Pearl Harbor was attacked?
No, I joined shortly thereafter.
Because of the attack on Pearl Harbor?
Yes.
This is a question we're asking everybody today because today is the 70th anniversary of the attack on Pearl
Yes.
Harbor. What went through your mind and what was the mood in the country on that day after that you learned of the attack?
Nobody was even acquainted where Pearl Harbor was. I had to ask myself.
Where is that?
And the Japanese have attacked Pearl Harbor. Where is it is right. But I had close contact with the Japanese at that time in the markets. I worked for a newspaper, and I had to pick up the copy from the Japanese who ran most all the markets. Had Japanese running their fruits and vegetables department.
Where was this at?
This is down in Southern California,
Okay.
and Los Angeles area.
Okay.
And the morning, I got to know a number of them pretty well.
Yeah.
And the morning of the 8th, the next day, they were just devastated. They were just devastated there.
That was my next question is how did they react? How did people react to them?
They were just sick. They could hardly work. And it wasn't 3 or 4 days and they were gone.
That's when
when they swept them up into groups and then sent them off to
internment
to
camps.
the internment camps. Yes.
Because it was the feeling in the country that was it because of the surprise attack on Pearl Harbor was that the nation felt that they couldn't trust the Japanese?
No, that is still a debatable thing, but the way I feel, having that close contact with the Japanese,
right.
led me to be very sympathetic with them because they were Americans,
Right.
but they were Japanese, and they had to be whisked off. They had to be for their own protection. Now, a lot of people say, "Oh, no, that's because you couldn't trust them."
Yeah.
I trust American, Japanese very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because and in a lot of ways, in fact, we're still making reparations for that in that they were putting these internment camps in the area that I'm from, which is southwest Idaho, an area around Ontario, Oregon. A lot of Japanese influence there, and the Japanese are very, very loyal, trustworthy people. And it was a shame that happened, but the hysteria of the time and the fear of the time was probably led to that decision.
Yes. Never happened before, and it was a peculiar situation that was a problem because we didn't know.
Okay, so go back to attack on Pearl Harbor, and you'd heard about this. So then a lot of people, from what I understand, the next day people were going to the enlistment office saying, I want to sign up and fight for my country. This isn't right, and I want to stand up and help defend this country. Was that the mindset you had?
Yes. This is a peculiar thing. I went down in January, and I was sworn in at the recruiters, and they said, "You're in the Navy owns you now, so don't go away.
You're in the Navy now.
We'll call you when we have a place for you." So I get a call. All right, I'm to be sworn in. I'm already been sworn, but you're going to be sworn in the most in a group that is the largest group sworn in by the Navy at one time.
Okay.
And it was on the steps of the Los Angeles City Hall. And the next day there was a great big picture of probably 300 or so guys signed up for the Navy and headed for San Diego just that day. And
what day was that? That was
the
a few
guy
days
that
after
swore
Pearl.
me in again was Gene Tunney. Now, if you don't know who Gene Tunney was, he was the guy that knocked out Jack Dempsey.
Yeah.
And he was, boy, he had a paw on him, I'll tell you. When I shook hands, I thought, my word, this is a big Navy.
Guy's got a meat hook on him.
Yeah, he had a meat hook.
So what does your jacket say? It says the Nightmare, Navy PT 189, the Nightmare. What does that mean?
Well, that was the name of the boat.
Oh, so PT boat had a name.
Yes.
Okay. Why did you call it the Nightmare? For the enemy?
Oh, I don't know who gave it that name.
Yeah.
That's what the name was when I went aboard.
Oh, I see.
But in many cases, they did change the name as a new skipper had come. But I had no reason to. So it sounded like a pretty good name to me.
So when you're in the Navy now, so do they come to you and say, well, what do you think about PT boat duty? Or do they take a look at your qualifications and then decide where you go, or they just have slots to fill and they start filling them?
I went in as a third-class yeoman.
Okay.
So I didn't have any stripes on me then. But I wanted to be an officer in the worst way.
Okay.
And so I'd been to college, and I was short about 4 units.
Okay.
So I was lucky enough to be stationed at San Francisco, and I went to the University of San Francisco at night.
Okay.
And I got my credits there, more than enough, and I got the recommendation of my commanding officer that he wanted me as an officer. But so okay.
So now you're an officer.
Now I'm an officer. Now what do you want to do as an officer?
Oh, did they give you a choice?
Yeah. Well, they want to know what you want.
Okay.
And so I told them I want PT boat duty.
Why do you want PT boat duty?
It was just my sort of thing as well.
Okay.
And they said, well, there's no openings for PT boats.
Okay.
So here's what's open, and underwater demolition and stuff. And so they asked me, what do you want? I said, PT boat duty. So, but we're not taking. So it went on.
Yeah.
My orders were PT boat duty. So,
okay.
But I'd worked hard for 2 years to get there.
Okay.
Before I got to go to.
So, PT boat duty now the PT boats were in the Pacific, not in the Atlantic.
No, they're
theater.
both.
They were in both theaters.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. The PT boats, did they mainly at close to island? They didn't do a lot of way out in the ocean, did they? Because they're small range.
No. When they get you established, you had either a tender, a mother ship,
sure,
and for supplies, naturally,
right,
and or a shore.
Okay.
And you had to have that fuel and go big amounts and everything.
Oh yeah.
So, and then you operated from these places. Then things would change. You'd advance, and you'd get your tender or a deal set up further out.
Uh-huh. So PT boat, what was a typical PT boat mission? Was it patrol? Did you search out the enemy?
Late in the war, like when I was in there, we ran out of large targets to use the torpedoes. So ours was barge duty. The Japanese were trapped in all the different islands. They had no way to move their stuff, to get stuff to them. So it had to be by barges, and they could only move those at night, and that's what we'd shoot up mainly, barges and luggers and small craft, and some of them get themselves all armed up, and we get a surprise.
So the PT boat was, the little insignia of the PT boat was a torpedo with a mosquito on it.
Yeah, a mosquito fleet. Was
Mosquito fleet. So it's kind of a little animal with a big bite. And they were pretty heavily gunned, weren't they?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. If you'd like to know what there was, I can.
Sure, yeah.
I can remember. We had a 40 millimeter cannon on the stern,
Okay.
which required 4 men to operate that.
Really?
We had a pointer and a trainer. Now those are the guys that have the handles and shoot the cannon.
Uh-huh.
And then you had 2 loaders.
Okay.
One to take the shells out of the rack,
Okay.
and then the other one to jam them down in the cannon.
Okay.
And it worked automatic, 120 shots a minute. And then we had up
That's
on
pretty
the bow.
rapid fire.
Yeah. I had a 37 millimeter, which is a smaller cannon, on the bow, but that was already loaded in its own capacity. And then we also had a 20 millimeter cannon on the bow. And then we had 4 50 caliber machine guns in turrets so that they could operate. And then we had 4 50 caliber deck mounted machine guns. Besides small arms.
And the torpedoes.
And the 4 torpedoes, which we didn't use, and then we had a depth charge on the stern, as well as a smoke bottle, so we could lay smoke in big gulps, so you can shoot a place up and then crawl in your
Go hide in your smoke.
yeah. Absolutely.
Did you do a lot of anti-submarine warfare? Did you go out sub hunting a lot?
No.
No. So you didn't use depth charges much?
No.
Okay. Did they have radar on them?
Yes.
Oh, they did. Okay.
Yes.
What about sonar?
No.
No sonar. Okay.
No.
So PT boat duty. How long were you captain of the Nightmare, PT 189?
8 months. The last 8 months.
What did you think of it? Did you like the duty?
Oh, it was the best.
What did you like about it?
Well, the type of people that it drew, or because I think they were pretty well. The men were pretty well picked.
Yeah. Kind of a wild-spirited kind
No,
of guy?
no.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay.
I'll tell you a funny story.
Tell me a funny story.
Okay.
I like stories.
I was ordered to take a Army scout with a general of the Filipino guerrillas to drop them off down in Mindanao, behind the city of and back in the jungle of Zamboanga in Mindanao. Now, 4 days later, we're going to make an invasion from the other side.
Okay.
And so this get rid of the Japs by putting them in a press. Just after the invasion, I put my PT boat ashore at Zamboanga, which was supposed to have been secure, with a few shots still being going through the air. And this scout came out on the little pier there where I was. And he said, "George Larson here?" I said, "Here." Oh, we got to get. Come on, I got to take you ashore. We got General Yamamura's headquarters, and it's full of sake. We got all his sake, and so I went ashore with him, and sure enough, here was the Army, the Navy, everybody was just drinking sake like mad. there were still a few shells going through the place. But so anyway, I tin cupped about 3 of those quantity of sake.
Pretty potent?
And yeah, it's pretty potent at that, more than you think.
Yeah.
So I took 2 bottles back to my boat. Now, you're not supposed to do that, but we could get rid of it in a hurry.
Yeah.
And I walked out. It was darker than hell.
Yeah.
And as I stepped on my boat, I went a couple of steps and dropped through a hatch about 7 feet down to the next deck below.
Oops.
And I kept the...
Didn't break the bottles.
Didn't break the bottles.
Crew is probably glad about that.
Yeah.
So after PT boat duty, what happened to George Larson? Did you retire? Did you go into other duty, or where'd you go?
Oh, you mean after I was out?
So you were on the PT boat for 4 years?
No. I was enlisted and trying to be get my gold grade for 2 years, and finally got it and gotten into PTs training.
How long were you on PTs?
Well, I was in that part a little over about a year and a half.
About a year and a half.
Yeah.
And where did you go from the PT boat duty? Did you go into training, or?
Well, to get it, that's where I went from where I made my officership.
Yeah.
Went from right there. I went to Melville, Rhode Island.
Okay.
Is where the training was.
Right.
And we had boats there and everything.
Okay. So Pearl Harbor. What lesson, we were asking this question of everybody we're talking to today, what lesson should we as the nation learn from Pearl Harbor?
Be prepared. Be a good Boy Scout.
Be prepared.
That's right.
They got the drop on us on Pearl Harbor, and we should learn our lesson and not let that happen again.
That's right.
Okay. George, thank you for all you've done for the country. Thank you for serving on the PT boats. Thank you for serving on the Nightmare and doing all you did in the Pacific to keep us free.
Okay.
To fight for freedom.
I hope to do it again.
Okay, thank you. God bless you for all you've done.
Thank you very much.
I'll take that from you. We are here at the Elks Lodge in Bend, and this is a live webcast. We are talking to World War II veterans. Today, of course, the 70th anniversary of the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. We're going to be here until 7 o'clock tonight. We have photographs that were taken by Guy Shaw, who was a photographer for the Army Air Corps, and he took hundreds of photos. Looking at some of them, and they're arranged in the lobby that we have here at the Elks Lodge. There's a picture here of Bob Hope, a couple of them. There's also a picture here, the picture of Ernie Pyle, the journalist, was not taken by Guy Shaw. In fact, Lucy Brackett brought that in to share that with us. But there's a picture here of Ernie Pyle, famed journalist during World War II, who was actually killed while covering the story for the press. And we are inviting you to come down here. It is free of charge. We are going to be here until 7 o'clock tonight. We have some video that we're showing, archival footage of the attack of Pearl Harbor, some of what the Army life was like and military was like during World War II. In fact, a lot of the pictures that were being shown here are just about life. Military people in their bunk, what it was like to live, what it was like to eat, what the social life was like. Very interesting story to be told by pictures. You know, there's a real interesting, you get a perspective about what life was like by just looking at actual genuine photographs, the real deal. We also have some medals here that were German medals. We have a German helmet, and we have a swastika flag here that is on display with some of the artifacts that we have. So come on down and learn about World War II, and you can learn about World War II from some of the veterans who are here. PT boat captain. We talked also to a member of the who was a frogman, served during World War II in both Europe and the Pacific Theater. And we look forward to visiting with some more folks here about World War II and specifically about Pearl Harbor. There are two, as I understand, surviving Pearl Harbor veterans here in Central Oregon, but they are over in Pearl Harbor now, which is probably going to be the last significant organized commemorative event honoring those who were at Pearl Harbor, because of the fact that they're getting old enough that it's getting very difficult for them to travel to Pearl Harbor to take part in these festivities. Dick Tobiasen is here, and if he's still here, we'd like to talk to him about a program called Honor Flight. Honor Flight is a program where they take World War II veterans to the World War II Memorial in Washington, D.C., and do it before they pass away, because they are getting older in age, and it's very important that we take them back there. Operation Eagles Wings is planning on going back there in May to chronicle the journey online and with video and interviews, so that we can go along for the ride and talk to some of these World War II veterans about what it means to them to go back and be a part of Honor Flight, to go back and see the World War II Memorial. And Dick is visiting with somebody right now, and if we can grab his attention, we might just ask him a little bit about the Honor Flight program and how you can get involved. So the live webcast will continue, and we would like to invite you to come on down and be a part of it.
I'm proud to have you do liberation of the rebels. So that we can find the same Germany and Italy against all the people volunteered to defend Spain's Republican government and defeat fascism. Welsh communists held patriotism. Democracies of the United States and Britain have failed to intervene. An opportunity to challenge fascism had been lost. A new world order began to take shape. While war raged in Spain, Britain celebrated its king, country, and empire with the coronation of George VI. Regarding the coronation was recorded in a survey. I'm 77 years old. Almost 30 years I've been in this class. Which actually this country shaking by the carnage of the First World War, British politicians wanted to avoid future wars. They wondered if the German leader was someone the Allies suspected. A year before the coronation, David Lloyd George, Britain's Prime Minister during the First World War, was invited to meet Randolph. His aide, Thomas Jones, recorded his diary.
Oh, no. What are we going to talk about?
Have a seat.
Please. I just need scissors to put the second sign
Okay. And live we are here at the Elks Lodge in Bend, and we're here with Georgianne Watson. Georgianne, thanks for coming down here and being a part of it today. Georgianne is on our board, by the way, at Ephesian Vision Ministries, which is the parent group of Operation Eagles Wings, nonprofit. And Georgianne and I were just talking a moment ago, and she had a chance to go around and visit with some of these World War II veterans. Interesting folks.
Oh, I was so blessed. I enjoyed so very much the moments I've had with each one. I've sat and asked questions and talked and told a couple jokes after they made some comments. The sharpness of their mind. These two of the men I spoke with are 90 plus years old. And the one gentleman is so sharp. I asked him, "How's your health, sir?" after we'd been talking maybe 20 minutes. And he said, "Honey, I'm old. What do you expect?" But at the same time, his daughter, who was with him, said, "We've been traveling the Northwest since March," meaning the two of them, that he's doing well enough to do all of this. What a blessing. The history in this room today is enough to make you want to cry. I mean, we are at war and have been for 10 years. And not only that, I lived through being married to a husband that was military during Vietnam. So wars...
Army?
No. Navy.
Navy, sorry, okay. Yes, there we go.
But it's just so impressive to see this one gentleman I spoke with who was, I'm sorry, his name was George.
George Larson,
Yes.
PT boat captain.
Mm-hmm. I asked him when he told me PT, I said, "Were you on the 109? He goes, "No, I just heard about Kennedy. He never showed up. He was always out womanizing," he told me.
That's a joke that was at Band of Brothers. In fact, that's one of the things when he came, I think the first time, not that long ago, I think, when he joined Band of Brothers, it was fairly recently. He said, did you ever meet John F. Kennedy? And he said, yeah, he was, like we just shared the story. Yeah. He was supposed to show up, but he never showed up. He was
out womanizing. That's what he told me.
Consorting with the natives or whatever.
Well, I was just, when he said PT boats, I thought, well, I just would make a joke. I am so impressed. We talked about unemployment and what it was like. I spoke with Gene.
Gene Wisnett, state representative.
Oh, no. There are two Genes here.
Oh, okay.
Gene had a uniform on.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
And I spoke with him and asked him how he thought today was, the war today, and our people
in Iraq,
coming
Afghanistan?
back. Yes.
Okay.
And how things stand today versus his generation. And he said to me, these truly are the greatest generations. Not his, but the people today. And we've referred to World War II as the greatest generation, for history. He's just so impressed. We talked about how the tours today are 3 and 4 tours for our military, and they're coming back to no jobs because the jobs aren't available like they were when he came back and could find a job or two easily.
And then some of them are re-upping and deciding to go back because that's the only job they have.
Yes.
Now, back in World War II, if you did your tour of duty, if you survived, they rotated you out and you got to come home.
That's right. And
now
he said
they
sometimes
send you back.
2 years and 4 years were the most some of them put out in overseas, whether South Pacific or in Europe or wherever they were. It was interesting because I asked about that. I used to work at Camp Pendleton with the Marines in Southern California. So I had some background in that sense of dealing, with military, knowing the issues, plus being a military dependent for 14 years. And I just wanted to know what their feel was. And I asked 2 of them specifically, how do you feel about the war today versus what you... He said, we need to get them out of there and home. Do it now.
It's going...
Both people told me that, just get them home already.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that we're concerned about, or that I'm concerned about personally, is some of these guys are 5-6 tours of duty, and they have to keep sending them back because there's nobody else to send back.
Well, the PTSD is one thing that all the military have always had to deal with. But with this many tours, they are finding physical issues with their hearts and their organs and stuff from the severe stress ongoing. One of my dear friends that was in ministry here in Bend, she's moved on just in the last few months. Her son had 4 tours over in Afghanistan and in Iraq.
How old was he?
29 when he got out, after 4 tours.
Okay.
He's having major heart issues because of the stress that he endured. He's in Arizona right now living, and she's flown over there 2 or 3 times on emergency basis where they didn't think he'd make it. And it was just what the doctors have told her is the stress the heart endured for that long is just
when you're living on
irreversible.
adrenaline
Yes.
for that long, and you're just on the edge.
Right.
For 4 years, I mean, life and death every day.
For 4 tours, it was longer than 4 tours, longer than 4 years.
So somebody to have significant heart problems, 29.
Yeah, and he didn't go in with heart issues. It's just that the stress is causing that. And physically, they're seeing more and more in the medical field from just things my husband is saying, that they're suffering, the pain, the stress, the arthritis and stuff in their bodies from all that stress. They've been under all that anger, all that tension, all that fear that they're walking through. Their bodies are living that now, feeling it. The 30-year-old has a body now like a 60 or 70-year-old because of that stress.
And one of the things, and the newspaper did a story about this, was MST, military sexual trauma. And this is a story that we've been working on as well. And we're still in the research part of it. The Bend Bulletin did. I haven't seen the story
I brought
yet,
it for you today.
But we have talked to women who served in the military that are very concerned about it. The figures that we were being told was that the divorce rate, but the rape
assault.
rate, assault rate of women in the military is more than 50%. And the thing that was shocking to me was the fact that the sexual assault rate of men, not women, was also like 20%.
It's because of don't tell.
And there's some significant issues out there that we need to be aware of. And we need to be aware of that these people are having, our military, our sons, daughters, husbands, wives are having to live through this, and we can't just turn our backs on them. You know, because one of the mission statements of Operation Eagles Wings is honoring all who served and leaving no one behind. Now, leaving no one behind, I believe, is the Marine tenets, Marine slogan.
Yeah.
But as I was praying about it, you know, it just seemed like something that we need to be aware of and take on as a network and really share what's going on with the military, leaving no one behind. Because as they come back here to the United States, we need to have that attitude about them. Okay, you were over there, and whether or not you agree with the war, either one's before or the one we're in now, we have to support our military, and we have to take care of them when they come back.
That's absolutely right. I mean, we have a free country today because of their blood being shed and so many coming home broken. Not just emotionally, but physically destroyed. You know, their lives will never be the same. And the pain and the heartache, and it's just, it amazes me. I guess living in the Vietnam era, well, when the military came home one by one instead of in groups, people would spit on them and call them
baby killers.
Yes, and throw urine bags and things like that on them. And whenever I see in an airport or anywhere that I am, especially in an airport, anyone in any military service, I always go up to shake their hand and to thank them for their service to our country and to talk to them. And I was in Alaska recently in Fairbanks, and I had never been there before. Well, I didn't know there were a couple installations up there, different ones. I didn't know that.
Okay.
So I'm in Costco up there, and I'm shaking. And when I got home, I realized our daughter told us, 2 miles away is a big base. So that's why I saw so many men. I'm going up to everyone, shaking their hand and thanking them because they were in fatigues.
You'd be pretty busy.
Shopping. I was. I was. I didn't know that there was a base like 3 miles away from where I was.
Well, one of the lessons I think this country has learned is how to treat our veterans. And I think we as a nation are all ashamed about the way we treated the Vietnam vet. One of the things we're hearing from Vietnam vets is they do not want to see this generation treated like they were.
Yes.
And I think altogether we as a nation have, in retrospect, looked back and said, we really didn't treat them that well.
It's awful.
And a lot of them, I'm sure, didn't want to go to Vietnam.
No, it was not their choice. There was a draft.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
had
that
to
was
go.
a draft time. You're right.
So we're hopefully doing a better job, but still, and just to be quite honest, one of the things I've had people say to me has been, I know they've got it hard, but everybody's got rough right now. And so why is the military any different? Well, for starters, they put their lives on the line.
That's right.
And they've gone through things to serve our nation. And I think one of the definitions of our character as a country is how well we're willing to take care of people that are willing to fight and die for us.
Well, the sacrifice is so far beyond that individual. It's their families, when they're married and their children.
Well, you know how that is.
I do. And being long after we were retired military, I worked on a base. And I watched all these kids. After 9/11 happened and I worked there, I knew we were going to war. I mean, you just knew working on a base it was going to happen. And my heart so ached for the generation of young wives knowing what they were going to have to go through. The physical sacrifice of being alone and taking care of your children and having to support them because they make such little money. The other part is so many of them had to give up where they lived to go back to home or wherever they could to help save money to be able to have food for their children and stuff. The whole family suffers.
And then not knowing
if they're coming back.
If they're coming back, and then whether the car stops in front of your house and somebody gets out, is this going to be the call or is this going to be the visit?
I had a more difficult time with the generation now that went to war and the families left behind than I did when I lived it myself. I had talked to a friend who was a counselor on base. We'd had lunch one day, and I was telling this woman how my heart ached for this group, knowing what was going to happen and what they had to endure. And she said, why is it different than when you went through it? It just was, because I had a heart of a mother for them versus when you're young and you just do what you have to do. It's different now. It's a lot different.
It's a different world.
It is than it was when we retired in '82. So. But God bless our veterans, every one of them, young and old. We owe them so much. We owe them for our freedom, but we owe them for the sacrifices that they personally made and their families have made. And, there are things that we don't agree with in our country and decisions that are made, but we still are a free country. And these people have had to risk their lives in order for us to have this. So God bless them and keep them and bless them with every good gift.
So if you see a veteran, please say thank you to them. How can you help? How are they doing is a good question.
Shake their hands and tell them you appreciate their service.
Yeah, you really appreciate. One of the things that's really been nice is I've seen a few young people coming in here today and looking at the pictures and kind of, because this was 70 years ago.
Right.
And society, American society, and I guess human nature is, if it gets that far removed from us, we don't really have any personal buy-in. It doesn't really matter to me.
And the schools aren't teaching it. They're removing so much of this stuff from the textbooks.
We were just talking about that.
And I talked to the 3 young ladies that were here specifically, asking them, early 20s, and one was even younger, and said, I bet you didn't even learn these things that you're watching and hearing and seeing today in school. And they shook their head no.
We invited the schools to come and bring their classes. We haven't had anybody show up yet.
Wow.
On one of the videos from one of the Pearl Harbor 70th anniversary people that went to Pearl Harbor this year, today, to be a part of the 70th anniversary celebration. That's one of the things he said, was that he's just shocked that we're teaching kids about the War of 1812, but we're not teaching them about World War II, which was significant, and the entire planet was a war.
Yes. It was the greatest generation.
And we're not teaching it in schools.
Yes.
So, if we want to continue to learn the lessons from past generations, we got to teach them. And I think there's a tremendous lesson that these veterans can teach us about.
Oh, yes.
About faith, about courage,
integrity,
about character, about duty, about
Absolutely.
honor, and
commitment.
Okay, so the young people today, they're learning things like duty and honor from sports figures.
Yes.
There's not a good character lesson going on there right now.
There is. Tim Tebow from Denver.
What did he do?
This young man, 2 years in the NFL. He's with Denver. He's from the University of Florida. Heisman Trophy winner, loves the Lord with all of his heart. He used to wear Band-Aids, black under his eyes. It said John 3:16 in college. Professes the Lord everywhere.
Wow.
They are really out and attacking him because he's so open as a Christian. Twitter and all the social medias are really saying what a fake he is, and this man loves the Lord. Good figure for the kids to watch.
Good. Well,
yeah. And there are other, but
like
you
to
don't
see
hear
more.
about them. Yeah.
However, this generation, these World War II veterans, have a lot that they can teach the generation
Oh,
today.
absolutely. Just to have been in their presence today and talking was such a joy and blessing to me. I thought, wow, this was so special, something I'll never be able to redo again and make the time with the people that I've spent with today.
We were talking to, I'm sorry I don't have the name, but one of the men who was the frogman, Spence.
Oh.
John Spence, I believe. And he served in the European theater, he served in the Pacific as the precursor to the SEALs, the Navy SEALs.
Oh.
And one of the things that he did was he actually helped to save one of the astronauts. So he was in the service that long.
What an interesting story.
Oh, yeah. So a lot of these veterans have led some very interesting lives.
Very much so.
Have some pretty neat stories to
I
tell.
talked to a gentleman today from the Department of Justice that he did that for 19 years after he got out of the military. And that was very interesting also.
Okay. Looks like we have a new guest here. Hey, Jan, bless you for coming and talking to us today.
Thank you very much. God bless you. God bless America.
Amen. Okay, we want to talk about honor flight. Do you have to leave?
Wait, want to talk about honor flight?
Yes.
Okay. Then I want you to have Ambrose Stanfeld, the World War II Army.
Okay. All right. Dick.
I've seen you over at the...
Oh, okay. We're live right now. You want to have a seat?
Okay.
Come on there, and we'll talk to you here in just a second. I guess, Dick, you have to leave here pretty quick?
Yeah. Take as much time as you like.
Okay. Honor flight. Another way to honor, we're live online, and we'll put this on YouTube after we're done. We'll talk to Mr. Ambrose here just a moment ago. Honor flight. We're here honoring World War II veterans today and Pearl Harbor survivors.
Yep.
There's 2 Pearl Harbor survivors that live here in Central Oregon. They're in Pearl right now.
They're in Pearl right now, and as we speak, they're being interviewed, just as you are interviewing here. They're being interviewed on the very spot they occupied when the Japanese attacked 70 years ago.
We'll have to pull up on the internet and put it on our website. But let's talk about honor flight.
Sure.
It's another way to honor World War II veterans. And what you want to do is you want to take World War II veterans back to Washington, D.C. so they can see firsthand the national monument to World War II.
Yeah.
And we hope to go in May as
Yeah.
part of Honor Flight and chronicle the journey.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Honor Flight.
Well, it's a national program. Thanks, Dave. It's a national program honoring the greatest generation, and it started, let's go back a little bit. World War II ended 1945.
Right.
World War II veterans had to wait 59 years to have a national memorial in Washington, D.C. on the National Mall. But the Vietnam veterans and the Korean War veterans already had a memorial, right? But the World War II guys didn't. And it all started because the World War II veteran asked his legislator, Roger Durbin, asked Mary Captor, Representative Captor in Ohio, are we ever going to have a memorial in Washington I can take my grandchildren to? It took her 8 years to get it through the Congress. So it was dedicated 59 years after the war ended. And at that point, probably 75%, maybe 80% of the World War II veterans who survived the war, which would be 15.7 million, had already died.
Right.
So you can say that 80% of America's greatest generation never knew that the country was going to finally do something for them. So now we have the opportunity to take them back there to see the National Memorial. So the Honor Flight program started the year after the memorial was dedicated. And our own Bob Maxwell from Bend, of course, went back to help dedicate the memorial as
Right.
part of a contingent of Medal of Honor recipients. So it was dedicated. The memorial was mostly about 90% private money raised by Fred Smith, the CEO of FedEx, and Senator Bob Dole and Tom Hanks and people like that. And people sent in nickels and dimes, quarters, and eventually they collected $187 million and built it. Dedicated, and then the honor flight program started when a World War II veteran in Ohio asked his doctor, a VA doctor named Earl Morse, am I ever going to get to see that memorial I dedicated last year? And Earl said, I got an airplane, I'm taking you there Saturday. So Earl took this one veteran there on his own, and that was how the honor flight program started. And then that year, Earl got 5 more airplanes out of the Flying Club at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and altogether they took 12 veterans the first year. Last year we took 22,000. So on a national program basis, in 41 states, they've taken about 84,000, 85,000 as of last month, because the program for the year ended last month. Oregon entered the program late. First of all, there are 8 or 9 states that aren't even in the program. Let's go back. If I said there are 85,000 that have gone to see their memorial,
Right.
that represents about 4% of living veterans, about just under 2 million World War II veterans living today. So 4% is not a very high number, is it?
No.
And it could be that a lot of veterans have gone on their own outside of honor flight. But
Right.
in Oregon, we ended the program late, 2 years, a year and a half ago, and we had an honor flight hub in Grants Pass, and a World War II veteran called me and said, do we have an honor flight in Oregon? And I said, I don't know. So I found out we did. And I found out that we had one in Grants Pass, and that there was a 300 on the waiting list, and they were going on their first flight. And I said, I'm going with you as a guardian to learn all about it. I came back, formed a nonprofit foundation, of which Mr. Maxwell is a director. We're a 501c3, like all honor flight hubs. And we, from the time we formed our nonprofit until our first trip was 3 months. And within 13 months, we took 105 veterans. Well, the problem we have in Oregon is that in Eastern Oregon, there aren't that many people living. And so we started with a list of 27 Eastern Oregon veterans, and we actually took 81. So when these veterans come home and tell their buddies, my phone rings, and then we get more veterans. So then we decided that west of the Cascades, there were 270 waiting, and the production rate of the original honor flight hub was 50 veterans a year, and that means you got 5 years ahead of you, and that's not going to work. So our foundation formed a hub in Portland to take 5 counties, to take 80 veterans that are waiting there, and we've already taken 24 of the 80, and now our list is 66 for the Portland area to take next year.
So let's talk about time. Time is critical because these World War II veterans are 90s.
85 to 96 is what we've done.
So we got to get them back there.
Time's not on their side. The clock's running against them. You can say it any way you want to, and they all know it. They are not. They know where they are. So we use the phrase that time is not on their side. So we encourage veterans to apply. We will be able to, if we get all our funding straight this year, we'll be able to take 100 to 150 next year out of Eastern Oregon and Portland.
Turn the sound down a
got
little
Pearl
bit.
Harbor raging behind us here. That's really great video.
I just did.
So
Yeah, it was. Thank you.
So time's not on their side. I'll give you an amazing statistic. To take 24 from the Portland area, I had to call 49 names.
Right.
49. 3 were dead, and the rest were too poor health to travel.
Okay.
I'd like to go, but I'm not capable of going.
Right.
And we try to convince them, like, if you're in a wheelchair or oxygen, we take you. We have guardians, we have family members or non-family. We will take care of you if you want to go. So we took 24 of the 49. And so now our waiting list veterans are, in Eastern Oregon, no veteran will have waited longer than 1 year to go next year. And in Portland, it's no one will have waited more than 2 years to go. When I called...
Which is a lot better than 5.
It's a lot better. Well, 5 was impossible because they're not going to make it.
No.
Either they're dead or their health is just too poor.
Right.
So we can do all 300 in the waiting list in Oregon this year. So we did was we went from one hub in Grants Pass to a second hub in Eastern Oregon to a third hub in Portland, Oregon, which we operate. We've formed a hub in Salem. That's 4, and we're forming a hub in Eugene, Springfield. So we will have 5 hubs capable of at least 50 veterans a year. Maybe we're capable of 100. If we say on average 75, we will take all of them on the waiting list this year, as long as we can find the money to do it. A veteran is not allowed to pay for anything.
That brings us to the next thing, finding the money to do it. If you would like to make it possible for a World War II veteran who is not seeing the World War II Memorial or any of the other memorials on Memorial, what is it?
National Mall.
National Mall. If you want to be a part of that and have the ability to give, then Bob will take your money.
Dick will take your money. And
Bob will too.
Yeah, absolutely. $500 will take care of it. $500 as long as we continue to get free airline seats from Southwest Airlines. Southwest Airlines has been an outstanding partner, and I would guess they've given away 5,000 seats across America over the last 6 years.
So it costs about $500 per veteran?
Yeah, per veteran. It's $1,000 if we don't get free seats.
Right.
If we get free seats, then it's $500.
So if you want to donate, what's the website?
www.bendheroes.org, www.honorflightofelasternoregon.org, www.portlandhonorflight.org. Any one of those will get you there. It's the best thing we can do. It's the last hurrah for these folks. They know it, and our job is to stop all the standard business and treat this as an emergency and make this the first top priority.
Sometimes you just have to do the right thing.
Amen to that, brother. We in our heart of hearts, we know we're not doing a perfect thing, but we're doing the right thing.
There you go. So those websites, whatever you can donate, please do so. I know there's a lot of worthy goals out there, and a lot of people are hurting for money, but time is not on our side, and we really need to show the greatest generation that we really support them, and it's our way of saying thank you for what they've done to keep us free.
And it's tax deductible.
Another good reason to do it. So
you're going to give your money to somebody, give it to the World War II veterans. Make sure that they get to go.
Okay.
They saved our
bacon.
freedoms. They defeated tyranny. I mean, we were an isolationist country. We had our minds blocked to any possibility that we would be involved in a war, even though it was raging already in Germany and Poland and Russia and England. And Pearl Harbor came along, and that changed everything. Pearl Harbor and 9/11 are identical in some respects. Same number of people killed within a few.
Yeah.
A nation that was asleep at the wheel, not paying attention to what was going on.
Right.
And now our country was welded into grand things to save humanity from tyrants.
So
these are the folks that we saved. These are the folks that did it for us, and 90% of them are gone, and probably most never had a thank you.
Amen. So, Dick, thank you very much for your time. Is Mr. Ambrose still here?
Yep, he's right there.
Okay, we are going to have another guest here. We're going to be here tonight till 7 o'clock, and you don't necessarily have to come and talk online on the internet, but you can come down, take a look at some of the artifacts we have, watch the video, talk to some of the World War II veterans. They've got a real interesting story to tell. Look at some of these pictures. I love these pictures. Guy Shaw did an awesome job. He did some photographs for Time Life, and he was an Army Air Corps photographer from 1941 to 1945. Did a great job of catching what life was like in the military. So come on down, sir.
Thank you.
Hi, Dave Adams, Operation Eagles Wings. And we are live on the internet right now.
On the internet?
On the internet.
No, that doesn't go to...
That's like... Well, if you have your computer turned on at your house, you can go on right now and watch us.
We don't have a computer.
You don't?
We're from the old school.
Oh, okay. Well, there's a couple people that do, so they're watching us now.
There is.
So, what's your first name?
Ambrose.
Ambrose Denfeld?
Yeah.
And Ambrose Denfeld is a member of Band Brothers and served in the Army during World War II. Artillery, 965th Field Artillery, World War II. You served in Europe?
Both areas. Pacific first. Couldn't get into Pearl, so we...
I'll go ahead and hold that a little bit closer.
Couldn't get into Pearl, so we our ship went back to San Francisco.
Okay. Were you in the Army, or were you in field artillery? That's an Army, a U.S. Army?
Yeah.
Were you in when Pearl Harbor was
in
attacked?
The National Guard in 1938.
Okay.
And in later years, we were inducted into federal service.
Okay.
And trained guys and took them down to San Francisco, and we're at that other island next to San Francisco there. I must be losing my mind.
I've lost mine a couple times. Every once in a while I find it. But
Angel Island.
Oh, okay.
For a month.
Okay. What was the mood of the country 70 years ago today? You just learned that Pearl Harbor was attacked. What was going through your mind? What was going through the nation? What were people talking about?
Guys 20 to 23 years old, he just didn't care what. He wanted some excitement.
Okay.
So we got it.
And then some.
We went to England, and took us 15 days to cross over to England because we had to go zigzag.
Uh-huh.
Then we spent 6 months lying there in pup tents till D-Day. I went up to 190 pounds, and 2 weeks after we hit Normandy, I was down to 160.
That's one way to lose weight.
Shook it off.
I'll bet it did. So you were at D-Day?
Yeah. Well, no, D+1.
Oh, you were there.
Couldn't get the artillery in there till they got a little bit of a foothold. Some of the smaller artillery pieces moved up a ways.
Yeah.
We had to go into their positions, which were already zeroed in.
So you were at Normandy Beach?
Yeah.
Okay. The day after D-Day, what was it like?
Well, it was just scary because those German 88s were pretty wicked.
There were still some there then, even the next day.
They were still firing,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember how long we stayed in that first position till they got them shoved back a ways, and then we just kept moving across France and ended up over in the other side at anyway, it took us a month to get into that town.
Okay.
They bombed it day and night. We shelled it day and night. The Germans were dug in 60 foot there.
Yeah.
So finally got in, and then we came back across France and through a lot of towns that we knew. But like I say, I can't remember them.
Uh-huh. So how long were you in the Field Artillery Army?
From 38th to 15th of June 1945. I got out in Fort Lewis.
The war in Europe, from a field artilleryman's perspective, how was it? Could you kind of give us a feel for what it was like?
Well, we never got into any towns. We had to always take a position out of a town, and we could fire. Our range was 14 miles, but a lot of times it was a lot closer than that. But they just knocked our gun out. One time I had to go to Liège, Belgium to get it fixed. I just took my driver and we drove into Liège and ordnance, got it fixed, stayed in a motel there for a week.
What was Europe like when you were marching across Europe? It was the entire countryside was at war. What was it like? You know, for those of us who've never been there.
Most of the time it was pretty cold, and we hit snow, you know. And,
yeah.
And we had Diamond T's. And
what's a Diamond T?
Diamond T truck. That's 7-ton Diamond T.
Oh, okay.
Pulling our 5-ton artillery pieces.
Okay.
4 in a battalion. 4 in a battery, and 4 groups like A, B, C, and D.
Uh-huh.
And then headquarters.
Yeah.
I think the whole battalion was about 700 of us. That was the ship we were on going to the Pacific, one battalion.
So did you go all the way into Germany?
We went all the way through Germany till the end of the war.
Okay.
Never saw my cousin there one time. He was in a command car or something. I forget now. But
Any stories you want to share with us? Any unusual stories?
well,
If you don't mind.
some guys got a little bit anxious, and they wanted to look around, and about 20 of them went into a minefield, wooden mines, and all of them got one leg shot off or blown off.
Yeah.
So we had to go carry them out, but we had to probe. Our mine detectors don't detect wood. So about 20 guys got to go home.
Without a leg.
Yeah, without a leg, yeah. But looking at the guys now that were fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan, I wouldn't trade them. Because I think they had a worse time than we did.
There's a lot. Speaking of loss of limbs, there's a tremendous amount of that going on over there right now because they don't have ordnance that is strong enough to kill, but it's definitely strong enough to maim.
Yeah.
And so the brain concussion, the traumatic brain injury, and
those bombs they set on the roads, the IEDs to kill the guys. That's not good.
Yeah. So as you're thinking about what the military personnel are having to serve right now and what they're going through, your heart really goes out to them, doesn't it?
The what?
Your heart really goes out to them.
Oh, you're darn right it does. Because I think those guys got a worse time than we had.
What can we do as a nation to help them? You've served in World War II. You're on the front lines.
Just get them off the line and send them home. I mean, there's a silly to have the wars going on, especially if you got a fight in them.
Okay. What can we learn as a nation from Pearl Harbor?
Why did they send us over to the Philippines, or we were headed there? They knew darn well that the Japs were going to hit either the Philippines or Pearl, but they didn't do nothing about it. The higher ups.
So we were kind of asleep at the switch.
I think so. You bet.
What can we teach our young people today about things like honor, patriotism, character, duty?
I don't know. I don't think they'll ever have the patriotism that we did. I mean, they're smarter nowadays and that join the guards, or maybe some of them that haven't had a job for a long time young guys will join it just like we did. The only thing I could get was a $15 a month job with board and room, and the National Guard paid $21, so I joined the Guards.
That's what a lot of young people are doing today.
Yeah, they are.
For jobs.
Well, I've taken up enough of your time.
Ambrose, thank you for the service to your country.
You bet your life.
And thank you for being here. Thanks for coming and sharing with us today and being involved in the conversation.
No, there doesn't look like there's enough guys here.
We are here, and we invite you to come on down too and meet Ambrose. Are you going to be here for a while?
Yeah, I've got anything else to do.
Okay. And come on down and see the pictures, and there's a number of World War II veterans here. And as we're talking to the folks out there, just invite them to come on down.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You bet.
And I understand that we have also members of the family of Guy Shaw. Now, Guy Shaw is the photographer for the Army Air Corps, of which we're looking at the photographs that are here today. We've got some young people here as well, and we're going to see if we can talk to them and get their reaction to the history about World War II. I'm Dave Adams. This is Operation Eagles Wings. One of the ways that you can support what we do is by go to our website, eagle1.tv, and we're asking for people to donate on a either monthly ongoing basis or one-time donation to pay for our travel expenses and the expenses with the internet and the associated expenses that we have with doing this network. What we want to do eventually is to be able to travel all around the state of Oregon, find out on 3 different fronts what's going on in people's lives. TJN, the Jesus Network, where we want to talk about Christian news, what is going on in the Christian community, in the body of Christ, in Oregon, in specific cities. And then what is also going on in the veterans community. There's some significant issues. We're talking with Georgianne about some of those. PTSD, there's some other issues as well. Jobs, a lot of the veterans that we've talked to are concerned about where they're going to get a job when they come home. And they're dealing with the combat stress and the stress in coming from a combat zone back here to life, civilian life. What can we do to help them? And what we want to do is we want to find out stories and find out what's going on and share that with you so we all know as a nation what to do to help. The third network we have is called The Pulse, and The Pulse is an open topic network. We'll go into a community and just talk about whatever the buzz item is in the community at that time. Maybe it is the Myrtlewood Factory. We were in Coos Bay, Oregon. We did a tour of the Myrtlewood Factory. Maybe it's economic development. Maybe it's property taxes. Whatever the buzz is in the community, that's what we want to talk about. You can go to our website. Our website addresses are tjn1.tv for the Jesus Network, eagle1.tv for Eagles Wings, which is the Veterans News Outreach, and then evmpulse.tv. That's evmpulse.tv. I'm Dave Adams, and this is a live webcast from the Elks Lodge in Bend, Oregon, as we are remembering that today is the 70th anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor, and we are honoring veterans, saying we thank them for their service to our country today. Toys for Tots is a program that is underway. The Marines and other volunteers are helping put that on, and we did an interview a while back about the Toys for Tots program. Let's go to that now. Tots, what's it all about?
Am I interviewing you or?
No.
Okay. We'll start. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
Hey, back off.
See, this is a really bad.
Be careful on the cord.
Okay.
Go ahead and room back. There's plenty of room back there.
Okay, thank you.
No child left out, right?
Take 2, 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm Dave. Once again, Operation Eagles Wings, honoring all who serve and leaving no one behind. I'm here at Jake's Diners in Bend. Cut 3, 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm Dave with Operation Eagles Wings, honoring all who served and leaving no one behind. Take 4. This isn't going to work.
I think we might want to change location.
We're going to have to change it.
You with Band Brothers?
Test 1, 2, 3, 4. Check 1, 2. Test 1. Now, Mark Wargus and Jerry Johnson.
Yes.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm Dave once again with Operation Eagles Wings, honoring all who served and leaving no one behind. And you know, 'tis the season. Christmas season is coming up, and we are here with 2 U.S. Marines. And of course, Marines, one of the things they're famous for is the Toys for Tots program. And the Toys for Tots program happening once again here in Central Oregon. And Jerry Johnson, you want to tell us about the program?
Toys for Tots program began in the late 40s. And has turned into a national campaign most everybody's familiar with. We place toys, or collection boxes all over town and all over Central Oregon. We encourage everybody to bring a new unwrapped toy for all ages and both genders. And at that point, we collect them, we take them to a central warehouse, and we distribute them out to social societies that know where there are kids in need. So please see one of those collection boxes and be generous and drop a toy in it for a young boy or girl, all the way from toddlers to teenagers. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Now, Jerry, one of the things that's real interesting to me is how the Toys for Tots program began. Mark Wargis is also with us. Do you want to talk a little bit about the history of this, how Toys for Tots began?
Well, in 1947, after World War II, the Marine Corps Reserves in San Diego started distributing toys to the KIA's families. And all of these young people, by golly, were really appreciative. The headquarters of the Marine Corps found out about the Toys for Tots that the Marine Corps Reserves were donating, and he made it a national campaign. Our logo, the train here on the Toys for Tots logo, it was made by Walt Disney. He donated that logo to them, and ever since then we've been trying to make sure that all children are not without a Christmas. There's a little Christmas for everybody, and we sure appreciate everybody's donations to these boxes and our cash donations and monetary donations, that we can fill in those gaps in between 9 and 14 that we're lacking on. So we sure appreciate all your help, and thank you very much.
Now, this, Mark, this is really important to do it this year, isn't it? Because the economic uncertainty, the recession has really hit a lot of people. We hear a lot of stories about people struggling to keep their homes, and it's going to be a tough Christmas season for a lot of people. So programs such as Toys for Tots are really important this year, aren't they?
Absolutely. And those gaps, you know, everybody wants to buy a small child presents because they're easy to buy for, but we don't want to forget the kids in between 9 and 14 years old, that there is a big gap. So if you could keep that in mind this Christmas, we'd sure appreciate it.
Jerry, anything you'd like to add?
I was a career reservist and have been involved with the program for 25 or 30 years. One thing that I have found that is critically important: a $10 donation of a new unwrapped toy will get you $1 million smile. And we appreciate that. It's one of the most heartwarming, fuzzy heart stories you'll ever see in your life, is when some of these kids, it might be the only gift they get this year. And the Toys for Tots are bound and determined to make that happen.
So, Jerry, you've seen some of those $1 million smiles, haven't you? How does that, you know, what do you walk away with personally?
As long as I can walk and talk, I will be involved with the Toys for Tots. It is just the most consuming thing. I'll take a second to tell you a story. Both of my daughters were here visiting for the holidays last year, and we had collected toys for weeks. We had nearly 5,000 of them to distribute around Central Oregon. So half a dozen of the Marines in the area loaded them up and took them around to the social agencies that they knew where the kids are and what they needed. Both of my daughters participated, and they spent about 2 hours with tears rolling down their cheeks. They couldn't believe what an awesome experience it was. And I've had the good fortune to enjoy that for about 2 decades.
All right. Mark, you've probably seen some of those $1 million smiles too, haven't you?
Oh, absolutely. It's so gratifying to be able to give, and the support that we get from the community is overwhelming. And we certainly appreciate all your help, and there's nothing better than giving at Christmas.
Now, we're here at Jake's Diner in Bend right now, and a box will be here, but where else around Central Oregon can they find these boxes?
You can go online at toysfortots.org and go on the local website. You can scroll down to the state and the city, and you'll find out for Eastern Oregon that the website's available and what we're doing, and you can also make a donation for Bend Oregon Toys for Tots. All of the donations, the toys and the monies and everything that are raised in Central Oregon stay in Central Oregon. And actually this year we've got Harney County, Jefferson County, Crook County, Deschutes County, and Upper Klamath County. So we've got a big area, and they've expanded us to help with those programs, and we certainly appreciate all the help because we could sure use it.
So you can also use cash donations or money donations?
Cash donations are an important part of it because we don't absorb the cash into the organization like way too many charities do, as I see it. We have a very high percentage of contributions go right back into the community where we collected them from. We're all volunteers, nobody's paid, but there are minimum costs involved to do this. We put these collection boxes all over in town, and they're marked just like the one you see here, so you can readily recognize them. And there will also be some little boxes, just look like a little bank, has a slot in the top, and you can put your cash donation in that. That is used especially if we have a gap by age or gender. Mark and his wife Susie just went over to Salem and brought back $3,000 or $4,000 worth of toys from the Toys R Us. That company made a very generous donation, and that's how we fill the blanks, because it's not a perfect world. We don't get the exact quantity for the exact age for the exact gender. So the cash donations are really important to fill in the gaps.
Okay. Website one more time.
It's toysfortots.org, and you can go scroll down to Bend, Oregon, and you can find our find us on that website and what we do, and it tells you all about it. And also on those donations, I was going to say, if you want to make checks out, you can make them out to Toys for Tot Foundation, and then we'll get them to the right location and where the need is here in Central Oregon.
Okay, anything else you'd like to add?
Please contribute.
Short and sweet, to the point. So help the Marines, help Toys for Tots. You know, this year it's going to be difficult for a lot of people, and this is a way that you can step forward and make, the Christmas holiday is really important because of the meaning of the season, and it's really important that we as a community step forward and help Toys for Tots and other charitable efforts, because there are a lot of people this year that are really hurting, and we need to step forward and help them. So guys, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Semper Fi.
Semper Fi.
Hoorah!
Hoorah! I'm Dave Adams, Operation Eagles Wings, honoring all who served and leaving no one behind. Tots, what's it all about?
Am I interviewing you, or?
No.
Okay. We'll start. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
Hey, back off.
See, this is a really bad.
Be careful on the cord.
Okay. Announcement 1, switch 144-1.
We are live once again here at the Elks Lodge in Bend, Oregon, and do invite you to come on down. We're going to be here tonight until 7 o'clock this evening, and we also have some members of the ROTC that we would like to talk to about what they're learning about World War II. Don't be shy. Come on down. This actually isn't as difficult as it is at the dentist office. Well, while they're debating about who wants to talk to us online, you and I can talk. We do invite you to come on down here. We're going to be here until 7 o'clock tonight. I tell you, the pictures that we're looking at here are pretty amazing. We are in the process of trying to get a hold of Noah Joyner on the phone, and we also have some relatives of Guy Shaw. Now, Guy Shaw is the gentleman who took the photographs, and we have some relatives of his okay, now we've got somebody that's going to talk to us. All right. Did you draw the short straw?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what's your name?
I'm Cadet Petty Officer 3rd Class Michael Kofer.
Okay, Michael, I'm Dave Adams, Operation Eagles Wings.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Nice to meet you, too. Thank you for taking time to talk to us today.
Yes, sir.
So, you're seeing pictures, watching video, talking to World War II veterans.
Yes, sir.
What are you taking away from this?
That we should be very respectful and appreciative for their accomplishments, because without their accomplishments and their willingness to fight for this country, we would not be speaking English possibly currently.
Right. Now, you're the JROTC, the Junior ROTC.
Yes, sir.
As school districts are looking at, cutting back, and everybody's looking at ways to trim costs, and one of the things that sometimes falls victim to the budget acts is the ROTC program. What do you get out of the ROTC program? Why should we continue it?
I've gotten many opportunities. I've been able to compete on drill team, on color guard, and on academic team. There's many opportunities. It encourages cadets to do better in academics and many other areas. It's a good program, and it encourages leadership.
So that's the last one there, encouraging leadership. So it gives you an opportunity to practice leadership.
Yes, sir.
Public speaking.
Yes, sir.
Teaches you things like honor, duty, patriotism.
Yes, sir.
Okay. How long have you been in ROTC?
This is my 2nd year, sir.
What do you plan on doing? So are you in high school right now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What do you plan on doing after high school?
I plan on going to a ROTC program or the Naval Academy, and then going into the Navy and attempting to become a Naval Special Warfare Officer, sir.
Special warfare, like drones
Yes, sir.
and so on and so forth?
Like SEALs, sir.
SEALs?
Yes, sir.
Have you talked to the first frogman?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Very interesting individual, isn't he?
Yes, sir.
He actually helped save some of the astronauts, or one of the astronauts.
Yes, sir.
And so as you talk to somebody who has actually been in World War
Yes,
II,
sir.
was one of the predecessors for the SEALs, how does that make you feel? What do you take away from that?
It makes me feel that I may not be able to do the job, and that it is very big boots to fill, but I'm going to try my hardest, and I'll be able to do it, sir.
Okay. Well, you're a very polite young man. Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much
sir.
for being with us today.
Thanks.
And thank you for serving in ROTC.
Yes, sir.
So do you go to Mountain View High School?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What is going on with the junior ROTC program there? Are they continuing? Are they dropping it? What's going on?
It's going to be a different program, sir, but it's supposed to be similar, sir, for this next year, sir.
So it's going to be not exactly ROTC?
Yes,
but,
sir.
Okay. It's a different program?
Yes, sir. It's Naval National Defense Cadet Corps, and it'll be similar, but not exactly the same. The funding will come from the school district instead of the Navy.
Okay. We'll have to check into that.
Yes, sir.
So, Kofer? Koffer?
Kofer, sir.
Kofer. Thank you for being with us today.
Thanks, sir.
Do you have anybody? Let me shake your hand there.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for being involved in the ROTC
Yes, sir. You're welcome, sir.
and being such a polite young man. Does anybody else want to visit with us?
Yes. Corny.
I can't answer the hard questions like you did.
The first question is, what's your name? I think we can do that.
I am a seaman apprentice, Wyatt Gasner, with the NJROTC program at Mountain View.
Mountain View High School. Okay. What do you take away from the ROTC program? What do you like about it? How have you benefited?
Well, I just like the military part, because when I get older, I want to be a Marine.
Why?
So, I don't know, just rough, tough. Can't get enough,
Yeah.
and all that. It's just that future of being a Marine, that feeling.
Okay. To be all you can be, and I guess that's Army, but
Yeah. To be part of the few and be a part of the proud.
okay. There is a good possibility that if you go into the military at this point, is that things look going forward, that you'll probably be sent overseas and probably get involved in combat and
Yes,
so on and
sir.
so forth. Does that scare you?
Actually, I kind of want to go into combat.
Why?
Well, my grandpa was in combat, and he says that really you're not. Well, I don't want to say that, but he said it was a good experience for him, because he was able to share a lot from combat. It was a good experience for him. So, yeah.
ROTC, should we continue the program?
Yes, sir, very much.
Why?
The cadet corps, I feel, if it gets started, it will start to slack.
Okay.
A lot of the cadets, and they won't get the discipline and need
So
to join the military.
The junior ROTC program has stronger discipline and
It's better for people who want to join the military and people who just want to learn the skills of being organized and, yeah.
How long have you been in ROTC?
Just this year, sir.
Okay. What attracted you to the program? Just because you wanted to get in the military and be a Marine?
Yes, sir. I wanted to learn the skills and learn more about it.
How many young people are there in the ROTC program? Mountain View? Pretty popular, isn't it?
Yes, sir. The present number, I think, head count of NS1, Naval Science 1, Year 1 students, I think is about 40 cadets. I'm not positive on that, but last time we checked, it was 40 cadets.
How old are you?
I am 14, sir.
Okay, so you probably don't have a lot of historical perspective, but have you noticed in the recent years that the popularity of the ROTC program has increased?
I believe it has increased because I believe that last year, when you look at some of the photos from last year, they kind of went from being a taller group to more of a spread out and shorter group.
What does that mean?
I feel it looks like it's grown.
Oh, okay. Looks like it's more and more people involved.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, could we visit with her? Because thank you very much for talking to us today. Because we would like to get a perspective from a lady's perspective, if you would. What's your name?
I'm Rosalinda Corning.
Rosaline de Corning.
Yes.
Why are you involved in ROTC?
Because I plan on going into the military.
Which branch?
The Marines.
Why?
It runs in our family, and they have the best uniforms.
Okay. What do you get out of ROTC?
It teaches a lot of discipline, and it's also a lot of fun too, and I've made a lot of friends who have the similar interests of going into the military.
If you look in that camera right there and try to convince somebody to bring forth the funding to continue the ROTC program at Mountain View and other schools, what would you tell them?
I would say that it really teaches so much discipline, and it really improves student skills. Like our Master Chief and Commander, we really encourage students to work hard and work well, and I just believe it helps a lot.
If you go on in the military, in the Marines specifically, you might be sent overseas to, combat assignments, Iraq, Afghanistan, wherever we're involved with overseas. Does that worry you?
Not really. I want to serve my country, so.
Okay. Well, thank you. God bless you, and thank you for being involved in ROTC and wanting to serve like all these World War II veterans we're talking to today. As you've walked around and talked to some of these World War II veterans, what are you walking away with today? Today's the 70th anniversary of Pearl Harbor. We're honoring World War II veterans, talking a lot about World War II and Pearl Harbor. What are you feeling today? What are you taking away from this?
I'm just very incredibly thankful for all of their service that they've done to make our country free.
Okay. Well, I'll let you go. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir.
And we are here at the Bend Elks Lodge, and we'd like to see you here too. We don't necessarily, there are some people that didn't want to be interviewed, and that's okay. But if you just want to come down and see the pictures, see the videos, share your thanks to the people that have served your country and kept us free, then please feel free to do so. We're going to be here until 7 o'clock tonight, and we are going to be maybe taking a little bit of a break here for a minute. And there are some other people we want to interview. The relatives of Guy Shaw that have made it possible for us to actually do this event. The foundation of this event was we wanted to share the pictures of Guy Shaw, who was an Army Air Corps photographer from 1941 to 1945, and we're sharing a sampling of his pictures today. So let us see if we can grab. I'll be right back. Don't go away.
The other one's going to be down here. I'll let you interview him. I don't do it. Claire. I'm just teasing. I let Sometimes talk about what I did 32 years. Yeah, I know you have. My grandson. Oh, I said no. Oh, wait a minute. In the uniform or in the jacket?
I was going to show you this letter that he wrote to.
Hey, Dave, you going to do Gene? Gene Price. No flag.
I'm looking at things, dear. Very special forces, They are, honey. This goes on all afternoon.
Okay, this is going to be interesting. I can stand right here. You can sit there. I'll stand over by the Christmas tree.
Oh, okay.
So I'll sneak behind you there.
Okay.
We didn't want to protrude too much into that because we didn't know how many people were going to show up. So.
Just like sitting in a theater seat right here. Yeah.
I'll come back around.
Okay. I was hoping we'd get out of here before
I did too. I don't know how much I'm really going to be able to answer.
Yeah, me either. You're not going to answer any hard questions, are you?
No.
Because we don't know.
Oopsie, oopsie, oopsie. Can we come out further?
This will go forward. Because our brothers know more about this, the particulars, than we do.
Folks, you can't tell this is live. Let's try this again. Hi, this is...
Can't see your face.
Yeah. Sorry. Hey, how you doing today? Thank you for being with us on Operation Eagles Wings today. We are here at the Bend Elks Lodge, and I have the distinct privilege to talk to the two relatives that we have here in our midst today that know Guy Shaw. Now, Guy Shaw is the military photographer who served with the Army Air Corps from 1941 to 1945. Beautiful pictures. He did a great job in documenting what life was like in the military. What's your name?
Gail Reed.
Gail, how are you related to Guy Shaw?
He's my father.
Okay. Tell us about Guy.
Well, he was, always snapping pictures, and he was a photographer, in the service and was trained by Time Life and carried that into his career in life also.
So when he served in the military, did he go in wanting to be a photographer?
Yes, he was already in the journal, as far as being in the newspaper industry. So, yeah, I think so.
So he was working in the newspaper before he went into the military?
Yes. In Grants Pass.
In Grants Pass.
Grants Pass Courier.
Now, he was the editor for the paper somewhere for several years.
In Lake County, in Lakeview, Oregon.
For how many years and which paper?
35 years. And Lake County Examiner in Lakeview, Oregon.
Okay. So as you're walking around looking, and we have a picture of your dad here and his documentation, that his Time Life documentation, and his military documentation as well. What's going through your mind when you're walking around here and looking at your dad's pictures?
Oh, gosh, we're just so proud. We are, and proud that you have, given it a venue so that we can get them out of the boxes and share them, because it's a piece of history, that he did a great job in taking all of these pictures and preserving them and keeping them. We'd like to share them. We appreciate you doing that.
Well, we're honored that you allowed us to do it, because just, taking them out of the boxes and allowing people to come and we've taken measures to make sure they don't get fingerprints on them and so on and so forth. But sharing this with the public means a lot to us too, because one of the things we want to do as a network is honor veterans. And so we really are thankful to you guys, you gals, for allowing us to use these as a vehicle to do that.
Yeah, and we appreciate that too, and we also got good information to take it farther so that we can share it with more people.
It's all about networking, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's been great. Yeah.
Cool. What's your name?
My name is Diana Millsap.
And you're related to Guy Howe?
I'm his daughter, too.
Okay, so two daughters. So is it two sisters? Were there any brothers?
There's two brothers.
We have two brothers in between us.
Okay.
Two brothers in between us.
So what's going through your mind?
Well, I'm like Gail. It's just wonderful to see all this, and we're so proud to be able to do it. Like, we've thought of different ways that we could get it out there. So this was a great opportunity. And he was so proud of all of his pictures, needless to say. So we're just really glad and really enjoyed it. And they're displayed very, very well, very nicely. So
thank you. So Guy is no longer with us. When did he pass away?
He passed away in October of '89.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's nice one of the cool things about pictures is the memories can live on in pictures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's nice because like my children and Gail's children, and they can see this, what, their grandfather did, and just see what went on then. And I think it's a great lesson to the younger generation and our grandchildren to be able to see these. I have one granddaughter here right now that's looking that she just said she didn't realize it would be so emotional, because she was very little when her grandpa died. So it's, and she also is a photographer, so it kind of means a lot to her. But
I like you. I really love to see the young people come in here and look at these and take an interest in it. It's good to see, isn't it?
Yeah, we talked to a mother over here a little earlier that had her young people in, and she was telling us the story of her grandfather that was in Pearl Harbor. Her grandmother, her mother, had to leave, and so it was. And she brought her young ones in to see some of the history of it too. So I thought that was great.
Well, thank you for sharing this with the community.
We're very proud to do that, and our brothers were very excited too. And I'm glad that they couldn't, or I mean, not glad. I'm sad that they couldn't be here, and they both served in the military in Vietnam. So.
Okay. Well, thank you again.
Thank you, and thanks for this, for letting him. Showing the pictures.
And it's going to be great that you can take these, and we were talking to Dick Tobiasen about a way possibly to further this and allow even more people to take these images, and there's just something about preserving history. We're less apt to make mistakes we did in the past if we learn from history, and one way to learn from history is to preserve it going forward.
He gave us some great information on what to do, where to go.
The one thing I love about these pictures is they just show what life was like. There's not a lot of combat photos here that we see, but just about what life was like, what the dress was like, what the dances were like. Just
Nothing
life.
was posed. I mean, it was just every day. It's very good.
He was a good photographer, great photographer.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he went on and, like I say, being the editor of the paper, and just kept on taking pictures.
So if you want to see these pictures, they're going to be here at the Bend Elks Lodge. It's free of charge to come by and watch them, to look at them, and we'll be here until 7 o'clock tonight. And just come on down, talk to some of the World War II veterans that are here, and watch the videos we have on Pearl Harbor, and just remember what life was like back then. And it's a good way to pay honor and respect to what has been described as the greatest generation, the people that stepped forward and stopped the progression of tyranny on this planet. And we are speaking English today because of what they did. So thank you for sharing your dad with us and he helped to make it possible.
Yep, he did.
Okay.
He did.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Bye-bye. All right. Well, we're going to scoot, so I just want to say thank you again.
Well, at least you're here.
We're in people live in Medford. Now, we just moved over. We just moved over there. I just moved over there like 6 years ago. So. What do you think?
Okay, Noah is at home waiting for a call.
Noah Joyner.
Yeah. He says as long as you don't interview him too long. He says now? I said, yeah.
Okay, we're going to be talking to another World War II veteran on the phone, and this is the first time we've done this live, so we will be calling Noah Joyner here on the phone and talking to him live on Operation Eagles Wings. And stay with us.
Hello.
Hey Noah, this is Dave Adams, Operation Eagles Wings. We are live online right now. Do you have time to visit with us?
Oh, I think so.
Okay. And we were going to touch base a while back, and apologize for not getting back to you, but we are live on the internet. Hang on just a second. We need to reposition myself, so there we go. Apologize we don't have Noah on camera, but Noah, we are glad to have you with us on the phone. So let's talk about World War II, and tell us about
World War II.
You
That's
served.
a good time to talk about it because Today is December the 7th, which I remember very well. As a young man, 16 years old, and in just a few months, I would be 17. I was ready for the Navy, and so I enlisted in 1942.
So did you enlist because of Pearl Harbor?
I enlisted right after Pearl Harbor when I became 17 years old.
Uh-huh. We're going to spin the camera around. Spin the camera so they could just see the picture of the photos. Yeah, we're spinning the camera around so people can see and just... Sorry, Noah. Just... there we go. Yeah, right there is fine. Thanks. In just a second. We're on the phone right now. Noah, so which branch of the military did you serve in?
I served in the United States Navy in World War II. I served in the United States Army during the Korean War.
Now, we had a conversation a while back, refresh my memory, it's been a couple days, but you were in the European theater. You were in which battle? You were at D-Day, I think, wasn't that right?
That's correct.
Okay. What was that like?
At D-Day in Europe?
Yes.
Well, we were only there 3 days before we lost our vessel, and I returned to the States after that. It was pretty busy those 3 days, of course. We were supporting the landing for the 4th Infantry Division on Utah Beach, and our vessel ran into a mine, and it later was under fire from the shore batteries, the German shore batteries, and was sunk.
Okay. What's going through your mind today? Everybody's talking about World War II, Pearl Harbor. You've seen a lot of action during your military career. What are you thinking about today?
Well, I'm thinking about all the fellows that I knew that got together here and headed out for the recruiting stations all over the country to enlist and to take care of the situation.
And that's to stop the spread of tyranny over the world.
That's true. That's true.
So you served also in the Pacific Ocean, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I actually went to the Pacific after coming back to the States. I picked up a new ship in New York and transferred to the Pacific, and I was in the Pacific in time to make the Iwo Jima invasion, and later to follow up with the Okinawa, and that was the last island hopping deal in the Pacific.
Now, we just had a moment to talk to a gentleman who was at Iwo Jima. It was in the Purple Heart, and was one of the Marines at Iwo Jima. That was a bloody battle.
You're breaking up here. I can't discern what's going on there.
Oh, okay. Is that better?
It's a little better now. What we're having, maybe it might have some effect. We're having a weather front move in here in our area with some sharp weather.
Where are you today?
Today I'm in Weldon, North Carolina.
How's the weather in Weldon? Are you getting a thunderstorm or something?
I'm getting a thunderstorm. Yeah, it's moving in. And I think it'll be all out of here by 9 o'clock and everything.
Iwo Jima. One of the things that people remember about Iwo Jima was the raising of the flag on Mount Suribachi.
That happened on February. I believe it was February the 23rd. Something like that, if if I remember correctly. I remember I was on the bridge of my vessel when that happened, and of course when that happened, all of the ships that were in the vicinity also had watches on the island and what was going on at a particular time. And when the flag went up, the word went out by various community means, and actually the whistles on the ships blew, and everybody celebrated for the Marines.
We lost a lot of Marines at Iwo Jima, didn't we?
Pardon?
We lost a lot of Marines at Iwo Jima, didn't we?
I think that when that was over with, we had lost over 6,000 on the island there. Yes, we did. For the first 3 days we were there, we were there before the Marines got there, so we bombarded the island, and we had bombers come up from the Marianas Islands and bomb the island. And for 3 days we did this day and night, and thinking that we were going to soften it up for the Marines. Unfortunately, we ran into something new at Iwo. The Japanese were buried underneath the island, and trenches pretty well preserved there. So
yeah, we were talking to a Marine here who said they were buried in some places 5 stories underground.
Well, yes, they had a network there. They had a network honeycombed all over the island, and they were pretty well underneath. So, needless to say, surface bombardment and stuff like that didn't do a lot of damage. You had to go in and do it, and of course, Marines, when the Marines landed on the 19th of February, that's when the action really started. We had lost just a few hundred people prior to that.
What is going through your mind? We're a nation involved in a war right now overseas, Iraq, Afghanistan, a lot of unrest in the Middle East. You served in World War II. You've seen, action at Iwo Jima and in Europe. What's going through your mind as you're listening to the news today and relating it to the experience you had in World War II?
Well, really, I have some thoughts about what did we really do from all these wars. We're still back to where we started almost, and it's beyond me. I can't imagine.
What can we do to help servicemen and women that are returning home today?
Well, of course, we can give them all the support. From what I observe today, the situation with the troops today overseas is a lot different from what it was in World War II. These fellows are really in a tough situation, and needless to say, they don't have the support and the backing that I think that they need. But because it's a selective thing, and I don't think we should ever do that. I think if we have a target or something to settle with somebody, we need to go at it full force, get it over with fast, and do it right.
So, in other words, we need to have specific goals and objectives. And objectives.
Either get in and get it done, or lose it, one or the other. But get it, do the job.
Okay, Noah, thank you for all the time that you served in the military. When did you enlist, and how long did you serve in the military?
Well, I served. Actually, I'm on the rolls for about 35 years. But as far as being ready for duty, but I actually served on duty 21 years, and I served in the airborne forces during the Korean War, up until, and I was retired early in 1963, went into the retired reserve, and I was ready for call for Cuba and other places that they wanted me up until 1985.
Okay, one question I was thinking about is we're sitting here talking, we're looking at some serious budget cutbacks now in the military and other parts of U.S. government. What are you thinking about that as we look at budget cuts and some significant cutbacks in the military?
Well, we are in a position now that I think that, and there are other countries coming along, especially China and Russia is still sitting there, and we still have a tough situation to go there in the Middle East, and I think probably that well, we can't afford to drop the ball now. We have to really figure out what we're going to do and what we need, and sit tight and do it. Because if we don't, we're going to find ourselves in a pickle one of these days.
Noah, thank you for the service to your country.
Thank you for calling.
Okay, you have a great day.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And that it was a live internet phone call with Noah Joyner, and we are here at the Bend Elks Lodge. We're going to kind of shoot our camera here, and we'll get set for another interview. We're going to be here until 7 o'clock tonight. What you're seeing right now are pictures that Guy Shaw took, who was an Army Air Corps photographer, and also was trained by Time Life to take these pictures. Beautiful pictures about what life was like during World War II. If you're anywhere by the Bend Elks Lodge, come on down and take a look at these. It's free to come in. You can watch the video, talk to some World War II veterans, and in other words, just kind of remember what they did and pay their respects. And we'll be here until 7 o'clock tonight. Would love to see you here. We're not necessarily interviewing people as they come in, so don't be afraid that we're going to throw you on camera right as you walk in the door. I'm Dave Adams, and this is Operation Eagles Wings. It's been a long day. This is a live webcast from the Bend Elks Lodge.
Talking to this thing when you tell me?
Yeah, and we're live once again here at the Bend Elks Lodge, and we're here talking to Jack Cooper, who is veteran of the United States Navy, served during World War II. And glad to have you with us today, Jack. I think they can still see you. You're a little bit, you want to pull up your hat just a little bit so they can see your bright, shining face. How you doing, Jack?
I'm doing great.
Hold that a little bit closer.
I'm doing great.
Hey, you said you had a story to tell me.
It's sort of a funny story.
I like funny stories.
As opposed to the gruesome guts and blood kind of stories.
Yeah.
After going to boot camp and a few training schools, we finally got transferred to a Fleet Air Wing. And this was in 1943, and we took over anti-submarine patrol on the East Coast. We replaced the Army, and we and being Navy guys, we had to use Army airplanes because we didn't have our own airplanes at that time. So we were flying what was called the B-24s, and they were painted from a Navy viewpoint this ugly brown color.
Army color.
Army color.
Color of dirt, right?
We didn't get our airplanes for a while. But
okay.
One of the interesting things was that after we went through our training, or I mean our actual combat in chasing submarines around the East Coast,
right?
We were our tour of, you might call it combat, was over, and the admiral, an admiral named P.N.L. Bellinger, who happened to be Navy pilot number 8 from World War I, prior to World War I.
Okay, he has some history.
And he came to us and said that he would like us to set up a school to train future combat air crewmen on all the workings of this airplane, which was the B-24, or the Navy version was the PB-4Y2.
Okay.
So we said, oh, that would be great. And his next comment was, if you guys do a great job, he says, you're going to get a commendation. If you get caught, I don't know you. So
Does that sound like the military?
That sounded exactly like.
Okay.
So the first thing we did is we stole a requisition book. And then we stole a 10-ton stake truck.
Okay.
And we were on the East Coast near Norfolk Naval Air Station, and we drove the truck to the Norfolk Naval Air Station, showed the guards our pass, drove into the warehouse area, and started stealing things or borrowing them. We got a 750 horsepower Pratt & Whitney engine. We got a complete bombing system. We got a complete radio system. And we put all that stuff on the truck, and we took it back to our base, which was about 50, 75 miles from Norfolk, and we started to build this school. We used 4x8 pieces of wood and nailed all our stuff up on the wood so that everything was a working model. We took the engine, the Pratt & Whitney engine, and we cut a V out of it and then hooked it up to a battery, and we had little lights, and the battery would make the engine turn over, and when it was time for the spark plug to light, the little light would go on. So the newcomers coming in could see what was happening. Well, one of the Admiral's favorite things was my ordnance system. And I had a complete bombing system on a rack. And we had these 100-pound water bombs. They were called 100-pound water bombs because when they were full, they weighed 100 pounds. But in our case, they were empty. And he would call me on the phone and say, Cooper, set up the bombing system. So my job was to hook all these 10 bombs up onto a bombing system on the rack, and he would come into the building, ask me if everything was set up, and I would say, yes, sir. And he would always have some politicians with him, and he'd say, watch this, you guys. And he'd flip the switch, and all those bombs would drop on the floor and roll around on the floor, and he'd laugh and laugh. And then he would say, thanks, Cooper, good demo. And he'd leave. And he did that 10 or 12 times. And anyway, as it turned out, we never got caught. And I did get a combination medal. And I thought it was quite a deal until after the war. In fact, only a couple of years ago did I find out that he was really Naval Aviator number 8. And I thought that was pretty exciting.
That's very exciting. He's been around. So let's talk a little bit about your service. It's the World War II. You served in.
It was always on the East Coast.
Okay.
From Maine to Florida. Part of the time, we had this new airplane, which was the B-24 with a single tail. And
was that the Liberator?
No, the Liberator was a two-tail.
Okay.
This was a privateer.
All right.
And our job, at that time we were stationed in Patuxent Naval Air Station, which was the Navy Wright Field. And our job was one of our jobs was to fly this airplane, service 3 engines, and do nothing for the 4th engine and see how long it would take for an engine to blow up without any service. We got 750 hours on the plane before the engine blew up. And so they found out that was pretty remarkable. But we had other jobs. We had to fly. We had 3 crews, and we'd fly 10 hours a day for 3 days. And then we'd fly 10 hours a night for 3 nights, and then we'd get 3 days off. And we were only 60 miles from Washington, D.C., so that was our Liberty Town. We had a lot of fun in Washington, D.C.
I bet.
One of the times we flew to Bangor, Maine, and loaded up the whole back end of this airplane, which was quite large, with live lobsters. And this was for the Officers' Lobster Fest.
Okay.
Brought it back to the base. On the way back, it was my job to be in that part of the airplane. And I'm looking at these lobsters and fooling around, and they're live, clink, clink, clink.
Yeah.
And finally, I hear over my speakers, my earphones, "Cooper, stay out of those blankety-blank lobsters." At which point I dropped the stick. Another time we flew to Guantanamo Bay and loaded up the back end of the plane with rum from Cuba, Cuban rum.
Yeah.
Because our job was just to fly around for 10 hours and put time on the airplane. Then one time, the plane was on the ground at Patuxent, and I was standing on the wing with my buddy who was putting fuel into the wing, and an air came flying by, a little white airplane. And I said to my buddy, "Did you see that?" And he said, "Yeah, it's just an airplane." I said, no, that airplane didn't have a propeller." And he said, "You're full of...
Yeah.
Airplanes can't fly without a propeller." And I said, "Well, that one just did."
Yeah.
And so we got down off the airplane and we joined the other 10,000 guys down there in the field. And it was the first Navy jet, which we thought, how can that be? How can a plane fly without a propeller?
How does it do that?
So basically, I never really got into the guts of the war like some of the Marines I know.
Yeah.
When I joined up, the question that I had in my mind was, should I join the Marines or the Navy? And I had to weigh this decision. In the case of the Navy, I would get to sleep in white sheets, have 4 hot meals a day, and watch movies. If I joined the Marines, I'd be sleeping in the mud and eating K rations. So it wasn't really a difficult decision.
A little bit cleaner on the ship, usually.
That's it.
Okay. Jack, I appreciate it. Thanks for coming down and being a part of it today.
Where's this going to appear?
It's appearing right now. It'll be on our website, eagle1.tv, and then it's also going to be on YouTube. You can just do a YouTube search for your name, and it'll show up.
I'll see you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, we're going to be here until 7 o'clock tonight. You are invited to come on down. If you have a comment or so, you can give me a phone call, and I'll be able to take calls here in a minute. 541-280-8833, 541-280-8833. This is Operation Eagles Wings. We are honoring all who served and leaving no one behind. And today we are honoring World War II veterans and those who fought and died at Pearl Harbor. This is the 70th anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor.